One wheel, featuring 26 of the strongest stands in all of JoJo's bizarre adventure. One Gojo Satoru. How many of these stands does it take to kill the Honored One? And with me today, I've got my man Metas.
Hello, I'm the Jojo guy.
Let's spin this wheel first and get right to it.
I really hope we get Green Day because it's just gonna be hilarious. I just want to see the theater. No way. No shot.
Future sight. No way.
I actually.
You pre-watched this.
I might have be crazy like that. I might actually just have King Crimson. I've been told I have. Green Day is a very interesting stand because it relies on distance. So immediately off of that, immediately knowing how Gojo works and his abilities and it wouldn't happen. Like Gojo would just be like, okay, you're just gonna stand on a building higher than me? What are you doing? And then like Chocolata would be like, what is going on here? My stand ability should be working. And hollow purple to the dome. So like this one's like clear in favor. I don't even think he needs Limitless. I think he literally just clobbers him. This is a no diff. If there was a definition for a no diff matchup, it's this one.
The worst part is with Gojo is like canonically this man can literally fly. So like just being able to like get above Chocolata is gonna be so easy for him to do. I mean, like, and the worst part with the 6 eyes too, depending on, I'm sure there's plenty of people in the comments that are going to say the 6 eyes won't be able to figure out stand abilities. But like just going off of the base of 6 eyes, if the 6 eyes works in the JoJo verse like that, he's going to know what every stand ability is doing. So like, he's going to be like, okay, I just need to get higher than your ability. That's fine. That's easy for me. Let me just jump up.
You know what? I'm going to be meat riding a little bit here. It's like, he doesn't even need to know like the stand ability in general in this matchup. Like, this is a matchup dependent fight because it's like nothing would be happening. He'd just be standing there. Gojo would just be like, what's going on? You're like,
so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then. Would you at all, because my big question to this is, how do you think the mold, like how tiny are these mold particles that are transpiring? Because the Limitless does only work up into subatomic particles to let air in, to let light in, everything like that. So like if the mold is transpiring through the air specifically, as it mentions, it has to be of small enough denomination, if it is, to also be like merged with like that oxygen particle. So if it's getting through the Limitless.
Since there's like a lot of like unknown knowledge here with Green Day in those specific areas, it just depends. Because I'm really thinking here, I'm big braining. Start putting the memes up on screen. It just depends how you look at it. If you really think the mold is like on like a air molecule level in terms of size and it slowly builds up over time, maybe you can say Green Day can actually heavily injure a Gojo, but he's extremely durable. Look at the Sukuna fight. So I don't really think if you were to lose an arm or a leg, he's really going to be like dying over here. He'll be fine.
Again, he can just fly too. He can just get upwards and stop the mold immediately.
No matter how you look at the smaller details, it's Gojo going to be like, oh shit, let me get to his level. All of a sudden the stand ability stops working. Hollow purple. It's game over.
Honestly, the most generous feat you're giving Chocolata is the fact that Gojo would require hollow purple to murk this man off the face of the earth.
I know. It's just funny. I'm giving the editor just like an excuse just to fucking play the meme repeatedly.
Green Day's out of here, and then we're gonna roll this again. Gojo got really lucky, and also we confirmed Meta to have precognition. So 2 things happened in this one small feat. Let's see what's going on next.
Oh, you gotta be kidding.
It's Tusk. This is where you come in, buddy boy.
To put this in perspective, we had the most easy matchup for Gojo. Now fighting his literally, I think, out of everybody on this list, this might be the 2nd or 3rd extreme difficult fight ever. So hold on, I actually gotta sit up. I'm going gamer mode real quick. I had to crank up my chair differently.
Locked in.
I'm locked in. So to look at this, there's only 2 viable versions of Tusk that are going to be good here. So Johnny Joestar has 4 versions of his stand ability. He has Tusk Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and Act 4. Act 1 doesn't matter here. It's an extremely bad ability. It's the stand in its fledgling levels. It's like a level 5 Pokemon. Doesn't matter. Act 2 is his most common use of Tusk, but it won't be good here either. It's not going to do any damage. Now, Act 3 and Act 4 are extremely interesting. So Johnny is a paraplegic, but thanks to Tusk Act 3, once he shoots it with himself, it's show the panel on screen. He can now travel within his bullet. So Tusk is able to shoot fingernails that are able to infinitely spin. Now, with Act 3, it's not infinite. It's supposedly infinite, but there's a whole bunch of gimmicks that come with it, and more or less, Johnny's able to travel inside his nail bullet holes that he leaves around once the bullets make contact with the surface. So now he has he can move anywhere now. He's like a crazy ass sniper with it. The only reason why I'm bringing up this one is because Gojo can't touch the hole. Knowing how Infinity works and all the extra stuff that comes with Gojo, if Gojo were to touch the nail bullet that Johnny is presiding in, more likely than not, he will lose a limb, even with Infinity, because within the bullet, if I'm remembering the panel correctly with Gyro, within that nail bullet that Johnny is presiding in, it is infinitely spinning, so it can infinitely travel and hit Gojo. So it will hurt, but that's not the thing we're talking about here, because I know what everybody wants. Tusk Act 4. So Act 4 is like the say-all be-all in this discussion. So Act 4 and its entire purpose is able to get through any defense. And at this level, with the spin, because it's in combination with Tusk, it's able to produce an infinite amount of energy. Now, I have to give the background knowledge for all the JJK fans that don't know. Tusk Act 4 went up against a character with a very similar ability to Gojo. While it's not an infinite power, it's an extremely powerful barrier that takes a lot of energy to pierce through it. D4C Love Train, I don't think we have that variation of Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap on this list. We just have the regular version. But with Love Train, he just has this wall that nobody can enter. He's basically impenetrable. Nobody can defeat him. Until Act 4 shows up, where once Johnny uses Tusk Act 4, it's able to pierce the barrier because it has an infinite amount of power running through that bullet. That is not hyperbole. That's how the ability works. It's an infinite powered bullet or nail bullet. Also, it travels, by the way. It's not like, oh, it's shot and missed. No, it actually hard locks too. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it would be similar to the world bisecting cleave almost, you're saying, right? With the pinpoint, yes. He could, Johnny would be able to say, all right, this is aimed at you, Gojo, and it's gonna hit you regardless of how much space is in between me and you.
Okay, you're giving a little bit, you're meat writing too much. Hold on, Noah. No, you're meat writing. So it does have one drawback. It can't differentiate between friend and foe. So if Gojo was smart enough and dodged out of the way with a paraplegic, he can hit Johnny with his own ability. But that's extremely hard to do, and you have to have some knowledge before that. Actually, the only way to beat Tusk, to our knowledge, is having prep time, and I'm assuming Gojo doesn't have any prep time with this fight happening.
I guess, I said, if we're going to go based off the previous 6 eyes scaling, I guess Gojo would immediately be able to deduce everything that's going on as soon as he meets up with Johnny, but... Yeah,
so I keep on I keep on beating around the bush, but basically what I'm saying here is Johnny with the infinite bullet is able to pierce a barrier that in the universe, in the Jojo universe, should have not been able to be pierced. So the common consensus, because this is actually an extremely popular matchup, even I want to cover it in more in depth. So what would end up happening here is Johnny would shoot the bullet, it would hit Gojo, it would pass Infinity because, it's Infinity, the bullet's already traveling at that, not at that level, but it has enough power to pierce through that. And so Gojo would get hit by it and he would instantly die. The bullet instantly kills you. It hits you with an infinite amount of energy and you spin your body, all your cells individually spin for infinity. You instantly die. The only way to stop an infinite Act 4 bullet is shooting it with a reverse spin of whatever previous shot you fired. So if Gojo gets hit by this ability, he is fucked. However, and this is the part everybody glosses over, because I don't know why Jojo fans gloss over this fact, is the Act 4 bullet and its prep time for it to shoot is a bit finicky. The super spin, which is required for Tusk Act 4 to be active, requires a lot of not prep time, but specific conditions to occur. So if Johnny doesn't have these specific conditions, he's not going to be able to shoot the bullet off. Gojo does have some time to retaliate. This is why I said Act 3 might be useful here, because Johnny could hide in the bullet, and now Gojo has to play this cat and mouse game of, I can't hit you because, if I put my hand in there, my hand's going to infinitely break apart in the bullet.
So what you're saying is that would be the literal perfect time for hitting him with a domain expansion, unlimited void, or if you can catch him outside of the bullet hole, a hollow purple.
I think personally, if the conditions are set up correctly and Gojo doesn't know what he is fighting, and the bullet, even if the bullet misses or it lands directly, it's going to pass Infinity. Limitless isn't going to be useful here. He's just going to die. He's just going to spin infinitely and he'll just crumble and fall. But if Johnny does not have the specific conditions set up for Act 4 to be used, it could be in Gojo's favor. So it's a very interesting matchup. I'm not going to say it's 50-50 exactly, but it is very cool. It's a very interesting one. I like it a lot, actually. So I'm glad we got this one.
Infinite Spin is pretty rough against Infinite Space. He can't really do much against it. I guess the only hope he has, beat Johnny in hands.
Oh no, he definitely can. I'll just state this: Johnny is nothing without his stand. Unless it's like a part 8 Johnny, which he can actually like move around and stuff. Other than stand stuff, he has like no combat experience. He's compared to the other Joestars, he's not really like an incredibly capable fighter. If he doesn't get it off or something happens with his horse, which is totally plausible, it is more likely in Gojo's favor, unless somehow Johnny big brains it with Act 3 and makes like Gojo like touch the bullet and then get inside it.
Are Act 3 are the Act 3 bullet holes able to be like attacked by anything besides just like physical form? Like if Gojo fires like a red or a blue where it's literally just positive or negative force, like would that have any kind of effect on the infinite holes?
I don't think it would, because I think how it's shown in Civil War is anything that just comes in contact with it, that's not it being on the surface of something, just gets instantly eaten up and destroyed, like in the hole itself.
Now, so do you think is that something that like Johnny would be able to put on Gojo specifically? Like
this is an extremely interesting conversation, because depending on not the guides you use, but some of the they're not really stand stats, they're just like short stand descriptions in part 7. Even the Act 2 bullet is said to be spinning infinitely, but not like true infinitely. It just has a lot of power behind it. He in Act 3 he surpasses anything any of the Zeppelins were to do with a spin regularly. Like he's fully transcended it in his Act 3 form. He's like he somehow surpasses all of the previous Zeppeli's knowledges with the spin. And for anybody who doesn't know, I forgot to explain this. The spin is like the new Hamon in part 7. It has a lot of interesting abilities. It's basically used to just execute people. It's an extremely medical based ability is the way I would like to say it, because if you know how to use the spin, you know how to manipulate the human body. I don't know if it would necessarily pierce him. I'd have to do way more research on this.
TBD.
But they could. Yeah, it's to be continued. There's a lot of, I think there's 2 more matchups on this wheel that require a whole video.
Yeah, that would definitely something that if you want to see a little bit more in depth in the comments, definitely feel free to let us know. Always a possibility. Let's leave this as it is and let's roll the wheel again. Overall, the whole point of this video is just to show like how kind of crazy it is, like how many of these abilities are just able to just get such a crazy workaround to an ability that just outright negs the entire verse. Oh, speaking of what I was literally just saying, what a great stand to completely contradict.
Okay. Yeah, so we went from like the most difficult matchup ever in the history of like Gojo versus to, do you think Gojo, morally speaking, would beat the shit out of a baby?
Yes, 110% yes, especially if that baby was like trying to harm Gojo or his friends in any way possible. There's nothing in my mind that tells me Gojo's character would not be able to make that decision.
This video is sponsored by GamerSupps, the ultimate energy and focus formula. Like most of you, I get tired right around 3 p.m. And after a long day's work, when I want to kick back and play some video games, I can just never find the energy. But to be honest, before they even approached me to be a sponsor, I used GamerSupps to fix that issue. GamerSupps is an awesome drink made up of a bunch of vitamins like vitamin C, vitamin D3, B6, B12, and vitamin H. All super good for you and your health. So it's not one of those awful sugar-filled concoctions that's gonna make you crash after drinking it. And it's got caffeine and things like nootropics to help you stay focused, stay energized, and in the game. Listen, I could never stand energy drinks myself, and coffee, to me personally, tastes like sewer water. But GamerSupps has so many awesome flavors and some really funny and cool designs. Personally, I've been drinking BBL GG lately, really good, tasty blueberry flavor, but I also enjoy some JFJ snake oil for that apple cider taste. Use the link in the description or pinned comment and use code NOOP for 10% off your next order of GamerSupps. If you're still skeptical about it, go check out the link and use my code anyway. They are more than willing to send you some free samples and give you a chance to try their product for free. Use my code NOOP now for 10% off, and thank you GamerSupps for sponsoring the channel.
So I'm going to say this. I'm actually going to be in favor with JJK here heavily. The specifics on how Death 13 work are, for anybody who doesn't know, is that once you fall asleep, the user and Death 13, the stand, can invade your dreams and control you within the dreamscape. And the classic line, if you die in the dream, you will die in real life.
Yeah, I was going to say, think
But
Freddy Krueger.
It's basically is Freddy Krueger. I think he actually is based off of him. Don't know the details on that, so don't quote me on that. I don't think this would work in general because I think it technically still needs to travel. And I have to ask this question. Do you think Infinity is on? It's on constantly, right? Even when he's sleeping?
Yeah, 110%. After hidden inventory, he just gets Limitless completely on auto 110%. That's why it's like when we spoke before about Green Day, when it comes down to subatomic particles, that's like the kind of downside he takes for having it be automatic is he either has to like specify and change the conditions of the Limitless to fit the subatomic particle, which is kind of even debated if he can even do that completely.
That's crazy.
So like, yeah, I mean, like, I guess the big question, because you would ask like, okay, like if he's in the dream world, does he have access to the Limitless? He has access to the 6 eyes always, no matter what, confirmed. Even if he has 0 cursed energy, he at least has the 360 degree vision and all of his, deduction abilities, and like it's literally like a scouter from DBZ where he gets like a person's like power level and like full character bio from Wikipedia just by looking at them.
To explain this, so in the dream world, how it is explained, as long as you don't have a stand there or something to defend yourself that you somehow brought in, the only thing you can bring into that verse is your stand. So Gojo doesn't have a stand in this case. He can manipulate you, but even off of what you just said, if he constantly has the 6 eyes forevermore, so he can bring that in with him because it's even physical, I don't think Death 13 would be able to manipulate him. If you were to say like if there's an off and on button with it and he turns it off when he's asleep, I would make the argument that Death 13 could kill him and then it would be game over. But if he just has the 6 eyes and every ability on top of that with it,
isn't the way that Kakyoin beats it, he leaves his stand on while he falls asleep, and that's how he beats it. So then, yeah, I guess in that case, yeah, Limitless, he would definitely have it without question.
He hollow purple the baby.
If we're giving him the 6 eyes, he'd probably be able to tell the baby was sus from the get-go. The baby wouldn't even be able to pull the I'm a baby.
This fight's just in Gojo's favor. If he can bring stuff into the dream world, it's over. The baby's cooked. Hollow purple.
The baby's cooked. Ooh. That's crazy. Never thought that'd be a statement that we'd have to say in a video.
Yeah.
Let's roll this wheel, baby. What's going on? So we got 2 wins for Gojo, 1 loss so far. All right, well, I guess we could even say that's a tie, 50-50. We weren't even really concrete on that. And it looks like for me that's another loss, but let's hear what you have to say about that.
So this one's interesting. So it has to work on a subatomic level. To give the TLDR on Metallica, Metallica basically is just able to control any metal, I think, in a 6 meter distance. So anything with a magnetic pull, Metallica and Risotto can control it. So that being the case, within its fights, and I actually will give credit to where it's due here, a lot of these stand users don't have combat ability. Risotto does. Risotto's a trained mercenary, not a trained mercenary, but a trained gangster. He's been killing people for years at this point. So much so that he just straight up tried to rebel against Diavolo because he's just like, I'm kind of that guy. I can do this. And then almost beat, no, not Diavolo, but a lesser version of him in a fight with not time skip, but precog. Risotto has a lot of skill here in terms of combat ability. So keep that in mind. He can just control anything with a magnetic pull, including any iron in your body. And what comes with that is he can make a lot of things within your body, like knives, scissors, etc., and they can just come ripping out of you. I'm assuming JJK is very similar to real life, at least in some aspects. And with enough iron that has been taken out of your body, Gojo will literally die of I forgot what the medical condition is. You might have to put it on screen, but it's the one where
Risotto reduces the hemoglobin in your blood, basically it reduces the blood's ability to pass oxygen throughout the body. So you basically suffocate. Yeah, you just suffocate, and like Meta's mentioned, your blood just turns like a gross piss yellow.
Oh my god, I also forgot about the camo. Yeah, he has active camo too.
The camouflage is crazy. I guess the 6 eyes would neg that, but ultimately it's the ability to control the iron in someone's body where I really feel like it kind of surpasses the Limitless. I guess you could make an argument depending on would magnetism go by, but I would say magnetism is whatever kind of particle you would even say magnetism is. I think should.
So you can say on a subatomic level that Risotto could technically do it. But then the discussion becomes like a proper versus discussion in terms of like scaling and stats.
Yeah, is Risotto able to get close enough to Gojo without getting fucking killed to actually cause the death? Which I guess it depends on how quick you think it takes Risotto to like form a pair of scissors in your throat. Because obviously the whole hemoglobin thing is like, that's something that Risotto does throughout the course of the fight with Doppio, I'm pretty sure. So, but also at the same time, to use that same fight with Doppio, even Doppio does survive the scissors in his throat. So I guess it depends on how durable Gojo is, with also a reverse curse technique that allows him to repair any injured organs in his body. Besides his brain, at least, how bad the brain damage gets, unless Risotto literally just like summons like literally scissors inside this man's brain that immediately cut the brain stem.
Yeah, so this one's very interesting, and I think this is where the proper stat scaling and the combat scaling is required here, because Risotto and his crew, all of the squadron, they're lethal. They will brutally kill you. I actually say if we actually brought Little Feet here and gave him prep time, he could actually kill Gojo from the inside out. It just really depends on how you want to see Risotto in this scenario with Metallica. I personally think it would work, but it would take too long, and just because Gojo just outscales him, he would beat Risotto's ass. It would affect him, yes, but I don't think it would hurt him, unless by some means Risotto just goes for like a Mortal Kombat brutality, just like your brain now has like a whole bunch of knives in it for whatever reason. Like he just transfers all the iron and stuff to the fatty brain. Shocker for anybody that doesn't know, the brain's made out of fat. Just all the metal to the fat parts of the brain and just like shreds it. That's the only win condition. And since he never did that against Doppio or something, I don't think he does that regularly. So I think this goes in favor to Gojo, but Gojo will be damaged here. Infinity is not going to work. Yeah, I'm giving this to Gojo, just in all fairness, unless Risotto does some crazy out of character shit.
No, I'm definitely changing my mind because now that I mentioned the reverse curse technique, it also makes sense. Like if Gojo is able to just canonically heal, regenerate, I don't really think Risotto is going to be able to do enough damage to him. If Risotto has to get that close and the camouflage doesn't even work because Gojo has the 6 eyes that would most likely let him see through the camouflage, Gojo can get out of the 6 meter range and then just fire a red or a blue.
Or a purple. It's over.
You love purple, bro.
I love the muscle man meme, bro. I love it. It's hilarious.
All right, let's see what's going on next. Let's see what's going on. That one was interesting because we actually had to bring it into the scaling as opposed to just the overall ability. Is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? Nope.
Oh, okay. So this one is interesting. And it's not the one I wanted, but it is funny. TLDR, Cream is a stand that has the ability to eat anything, and it will literally fucking disappear from existence. Its user is a vampire, so he can regenerate. Okay, he's a vampire, but he doesn't know how to actually properly use any of his abilities. So this fight has to take place during at night for it even to work in the first place. So he's a vampire. Vampires come with a whole bunch of other abilities, regeneration, but
good durability,
standability,
immortality if he doesn't get like completely dusted.
Looking at Cream himself, Cream has the ability just to eat anything and it will be instantly destroyed. Its mouth is, I wouldn't say a black hole because it's described as like a completely different dimension, but like it's a dimension where nothing can exist other than vanilla ice. That's it. It's not very accurate. It's actually extremely poor. It's like shooting a shotgun in the dark. More or less, vanilla ice can also climb into it, form the dimension or whatever. It looks like a black hole, but it's not a black hole, and it's able to just eat anything and start destroying the environment around it. So the idea here is this. Technically speaking, if Vanilla Ice gets into Cream and then starts traveling towards Gojo, the question is, do we think Cream and its dimension could get past Limitless and Infinity? I don't exactly know.
There's 2 questions that I would say are important to answering that. One would be how fast, because so basically Limitless is just slowing Cream down to the point where he never reaches Gojo. But I guess the question would be is, one, is Cream able to move faster than Infinity slows Cream down, is that even a possible thing that can happen? And 2, is Cream, when you say Cream is just devouring everything, and that's on contact, just to be very clear for everyone that's not completely familiar with Jojo. Like, it's like Cream literally can just roll in a ball, and everything that the ball touches is just gone. It's just deleted from Control Alt Delete. So, like, are we saying that Cream canonically also devours just in general? Can you consider space something that Cream is eating? Because if that's the case, if Cream is not Creams, how did he make his way into this video?
Holy shit, he's here. Get him out. Get him out. Ah!
If it can eat the space and is also, if you're also giving it the generosity that it can move faster than the slowing down of the space, which again, if you even believe that's something that's possible to do, then yeah, sure, Cream would just eventually just pass through because it would just eat everything. But is that, again, does that scientifically and physically make sense?
So, okay, with JoJo's, physics is out the fucking door.
Yeah, maybe I should have used different terms, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you were saying. Unless this is George Joestar, which outright states stands just defy physics, but that's not the continuity we're working with here. So I do have panels up. If we want to say, hypothetically, the art is 100% accurate to Araki's vision, and me being the power scaler I am, and just fucking, like, you know, kind of interpreting this, the scene in question, a lot of the time where Vanilla Ice and Cream devour somebody, so I'm looking at Silver Chariot's I think left thigh is being devoured, there is a circle around that area. It's not just the thigh being devoured, it is the thigh and what looks like to be, and there's multiple shots of this, the air nearby being devoured. So it can be presumed, even at a microscopic level or a atomic level, that even the air is being devoured. Then yes, and even in the anime, if we're separating manga and anime continuity to be different things, if we use an anime version of Cream, even then there is like the strip of air wherever it travels is visually different from the background, so you can say it's even eating the air. With that being the case, depending on your interpretation, he could literally just eat Infinity and then maybe eat Gojo. He is extremely fast, by the way, too. To put this in perspective, Silver Chariot and Polnareff are massively faster than Lightspeed characters, and Cream was able to move so fast that even Polnareff was able to react. He was able to react eventually after like a resolve amp. So like he basically got pissed off, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan style, and just completely killed him. Honestly, one of my favorite fights in the entire franchise.
It's a great one of the best fights of Part 3 for sure. Yeah, I guess like with Limitless, like not being physical space and just being like the slowing down, that's like I said, that's where it becomes tough to say, because it's like is the speed faster?
That we need.
Yeah.
It definitely moves fast as hell. Not even Polnareff can react to it, and this is the same guy that was. Polnareff was not able to react to it very well, and this is the guy who was able to react to light. So depending on how you want to see, like,
here comes the MFTL. Here it comes.
Yeah, it depends on how you want to see it. You could say that Cream travels at the speed of light here. So it just depends on how you want to see it, and then how you want to see Infinity and how physics works in JJK. This is a weird one. There's another stand on this list that does something very similar, but like way better, but also way dumber. So it just depends on how you see it.
It's similar to Tusk, where it's like it just depends on what you personally, how you perceive how these abilities actually work in tandem with each other, because
in my opinion, I do think he eats everything in front of him. Like that black hole, that dimension that's just flying around all these characters and Polnareff, I think could eat it and then get to him, I think. But I'm also kind of 50-50 on that. I could easily switch up on either. And you also have to remember, Vanilla Ice is a dumbass, and if he doesn't do that off rip, technically speaking, Gojo probably will have enough with his toolkit to beat him in general. So it's about 50-50 in my mind. You could swing either way, just depends on the finer details.
Yeah, Hollow Purple is like canonically an antimatter ability where it just deletes things from existence, or supposedly there's multiple different interpretations. Depending on who you talk to, they'll say it's purely just antimatter, just deletes everything. But at the same time, there's characters like Sukuna who have canonically been able to tank the ability. So like if it's antimatter and just deleting everything, it should be durability negging. So like there's a couple different ways to look at it. But if we are to imagine it as this imaginary technique that is able to delete matter to a degree, it should be able to hit Cream even when he's like balled up.
Yeah, he should be able to. Even like Vampire Vanilla Ice should get hit by that, and he should be like deleted or something, or at least take massive damage. So yeah,
to where they can damage him, and then he's like, all right, he hangs him out to Vanilla Ice out to dry till morning.
Yeah, he's cooked.
He's cooked. All right, let's spin this wheel, baby. Let's actually, you know what?
We get the hand.
We have to, because Gojo's doing actually much better than we both thought.
Oh, son of a bitch. Okay.
Jotaro.
All right, so I'm gonna do the meme if anybody's coming over from my channel. So Star Platinum is arguably top 10 stands ever, depending on how you want to look at this. So I'm gonna bring in some funky scaling because it's funny into this video. So basic Jotaro scaling is this. There is multiple. I'll send them to Noop probably immediately after this video, because this is probably going to be the most like popular fight. Jotaro is massively faster than Light Plus. This is stated in guidebooks. It is stated in stand stats. It is stated in the verse off of scaling alone. He's ridiculously fast. It was his entire thing before Time Stop. Moving on to that, Time Stop. Jotaro in his prime, I'm assuming these are all these characters at their strongest, had the ability to stop time for 5 whole seconds. That's ridiculously busted. If you've ever wondered why it's so strong, it'd be like me being able to just hit Noop anywhere on the body, and he's unprepared to fight back. That's just how it works. Like, Time Stop is ridiculously busted. In terms of durability and AP, this is where it gets really funny and like really crazy. So depending on what scans and data you use from the manga and specific characters and how they are compared to, there is a character called the Sun. He is not on this list, but he appears in part 3. I will send Noop the scans to put on screen, but the Sun is roughly adequate to the actual Sun in terms of being able to light up an entire area. It then was able to shoot laser beams, I am not joking here, at Polnareff. Polnareff was able to block these laser beams. These laser beams, counted by pixel measurements, I know a lot of people don't like that.
Oh my god.
I know. It gets funny.
The video's over, guys. Thanks for coming. I'll see you later.
Through the pixel measurements can be calced in a very different amount of ways. On the lower end, which I think is realistic, it's like large town level to like large city level. On the higher end, using specific scaling on how this stand lights up the entire Sahara Desert, you can get Jotaro to like small island level in terms of AP, because he scales off of Silver Chariot and Polnareff. In terms of durability, it ranges in between that small town level to large city level on the lower end, to higher end being island level, depending on who you're asking. So like Jotaro is ridiculously overpowered in terms of physical strength. To be honest, it's not that far-fetched. Everybody in the verse is scared of this guy. Even in the guidebooks and stuff, it's like basically blatantly said, like, don't mess with Jotaro, you will literally get folded. Just don't do it. It's actually kind of funny. But you're probably wondering, metas. This doesn't seem that powerful, even though he has all these abilities and is ridiculously strong. Why does that matter? So here's the problem, and this is the funny scaling. And even I don't agree with it, but if you want to use it, this is how he's able to beat Gojo. So in part 6, in his stand stats, depending on the wording, Time Stop works in 2 different ways. The way that I think, and the majority of the fandom thinks, is Time Stop is just an ability, like Jotaro just activates it. I just snapped my fingers, and time is stopped. That's just how the ability works. There's no other details. It's just, he just has the ability to make all of time in the universe. It is a universal feat. I will also give that to Noop, where all of time in the universe stops for 5 seconds. Here's the other interpretation of it. I don't agree with it, but it is there in earlier translations of part 6. And depending on the wording of it, even in current translations, you can come to this as well. Jotaro, and how all of time stopped itself for 5 seconds, is that Jotaro moves so fast that all of time proceeds to stop. Now, what is the difference here? The difference between stopping time for 5 seconds versus stopping time because you move so fast is insane. In power scaling, that is a immeasurable speed feat. Not immeasurable. Incalculable. He moves so fast that time just stops working. It's just like, okay, what does that mean? He basically breaks the speed formula because he moves so fast. So Limitless doesn't work here. Jotaro can literally just move that fast, punch Gojo, and Gojo's gonna get folded. He's gonna be like, what the hell just hit me? And now, I don't entirely agree with that scaling. This inaccessible speed's kind of on the crazier side of JoJo scaling. It's also right next to my not favorite feat of saying that Jotaro and Dio are continental. Don't agree with that scaling whatsoever, but it is there if you want to use it. I don't think it's personal. I think Gojo probably wins this fight because of his Limitless and how Jotaro wouldn't be able to hit him at all. But if we wanted to use the inaccessible speed scaling, he would be able to just hit him normally through this version of Time Stop, and the fight would probably go in Jotaro's favor because he just outscales Gojo.
Yeah.
Jotaro's funny.
Jotaro, yeah, just honestly listening to that entire session was definitely interesting, just to see like how generous you can really be when it comes to like scaling, because holy crap. I will definitely go right into Gojo, because when it comes to Jujutsu Kaisen and power scaling, there's so many different interpretations, especially thanks to the season 2 anime almost gassing up so many characters to the point that like it's kind of like just a free-for-all at this point. So like even at its most generous statement, right, I will give characters reaction time to lightning. That's fine. That doesn't make them faster than lightning just because they can react to it. The best feat we have against the lightning bolt is Hikari noticing the lightning bolt and then shifting his body maybe an inch so that his head didn't get obliterated and he just lost an arm. And that by no means gives anybody in Jujutsu Kaisen a lightning time feat, unfortunately.
That would be like a low lightning timer if we're using like specific like power scaling statements. That's like, I think even some people even put it like down a few. You're like high. I don't remember the Mach speeds, but like you're like at a high Mach level, but you're not like at an even higher Mach level.
And also like reaction speed is also almost always going to be better than actual combat speed. Your ability of reacting to something is going to be different than the speed that you're always moving at most of the time on average. And when it comes down to it, the scaling that you gave, whatever interpretation you feel, whether it's the generous or the more conservative, Jotaro easily outstats Gojo. Yeah, without a doubt.
And this is not me pulling it out of my ass. So here's the one thing I will say this. I don't know how other manga could do it, but I don't know. I was about to say Jotaro is the fucking author of JoJo's. That's crazy. Araki does power scale. I'll give you more statements here on screen, but like there's multiple times where like Araki blatantly does very basic power scaling and does keep these characters like stats and abilities in mind when he's doing fights. So like Jotaro being massively faster than Light Plus, or just being at bare minimum like faster than Light, is canonical and does make sense within the verse. So like a lot of these JJK characters, when fighting at least with the main JoJos or even like the Joe Bros or stuff, or the people part of like the main crews, are getting for the most part speed blitzed. And looking at Jotaro at the highest level you can get his speed being inaccessible because he's breaking the fucking speed formula thanks to Time Stop, like Gojo's getting creamed.
So like, I'm going to tell you,
no infinite distance is not going to do shit.
I'm going to tell you exactly what is going to be said, because I'm going to give you every counter argument that I possibly can, because I've also seen some of the counter arguments as well, because I did Dio versus Jujutsu Kaisen, and Dio also has Time Stop. You gave the interpretation of Time Stop as it is, I imagine, from the data book, from the source material, everything like that. But I know a lot of people do mention that Time Stop works as kind of like an oscillating wave. You know what I mean? Where it starts from the user and then spreads out to the rest of the world. And in that case, people mention that if that is the case, then Limitless should should stop the oscillating wave. Even though I don't know if Limitless and the whole atomic, subatomic, blah blah blah. If my man can't even stop subatomic particles, how's Limitless stopping the concept of time? Which is like a man-made concept entirely. We don't even completely understand what time is.
Yeah, and even then, okay, this is crazy. I didn't think we're getting into theoretical. I love power scaling. We just have to enter theo. It depends. So I know where that oscillate. This is like low tier iceberg like ass power scaling we've entered. Oscillating waves is crazy. I haven't heard this argument in like 4 years, dude. Holy shit. But that's the anime's interpretation. Like I said previously with creams and stuff, it just depends. Because like, sure, that's maybe how it looks visually, but we don't exactly know if it actually is a wave or it instantly stops time. It's really weird. Because like then we're getting into finer details like not even I can answer. Because like you can say that, but like, is that actually the actual case? Because Araki's never said that, and in none of in the guidebook statements is it like it's a wave. It takes time for all of time to instantly.
Let me tell you why it's important. It's important because if we're saying that Time Stop is like an oscillating wave, and we're saying that it is something that it's like, let's say, a blast of fucking spirit energy or whatever that like goes out and causes the time stop, and that's what hits you and as an opponent. I'm not saying that's not my interpretation, but let's say giving the most generous feats to Jujutsu Kaisen. If that's the case, Limitless should stop it. If time stop is this just thing that just like you said, it snaps and it happens, then by the definition of Limitless, where it's like it slows things down, if time is stopped completely, then it shouldn't matter. There's nothing to slow down. Time is stopped. You should just be able to go walk up to Gojo and punch him in the fucking face. And by your power estimation, again, without even getting into the specifics of durability and attack power for Jujutsu Kaisen, there is no way you're getting Gojo past at the most generous estimations, like large town level durability.
Yeah. I think you can get him a bit higher. I think Yuji, at least this was early, like later Yuji. I don't know what it is now, like the island level. And you can say like Gojo probably is at that level.
I would reject that like, completely.
I know that's a crazy. That's crazy.
The best attack in the series canonically is Gojo's 200% hollow purple, which literally just scars literally like a good chunk of Shinjuku, which is like how he even gets to like town level as it is. And you could even, I'm sure there's even people that could argue you can make that even more conservative, how large of an area that hollow purple even destroyed.
I'm using deranged jutsu
I know people will say that Dagon made a domain of an island, so therefore everyone past Dagon is island level, and I just shoot that down immediately because that's just that's crazy talk.
Yeah, it just depends. Even if we use the higher end scaling, I just don't think then it would even work, because Jotaro even then in part 4 and part 5, not part 5.
Joke's on you, it's part 6, Jotaro. He loses now. Nerf Jotaro.
No, actually, that's actually even wrong. That's even more wrong, because he has like years of combat experience on top of that, so he'd actually even be.
Where was it all in part 6, Metas?
Well, it's actually it takes place in between parts 3 and then part 6. In that time, he was working for the Speedwagon Foundation and was doing stuff in between that.
I'm just being annoying. You're fine.
I know. I'm just being funny for anybody actually who has that question. Yeah, no, Jotaro in terms of durability too, he'd be able to probably tank some of that shit, unless you're saying it's like an instant deletion, which apparently JJK scaling is fucking.
If Sukuna can tank it, then again, by your scaling, Jotaro should be more than capable of taking a hollow purple. Again, like even if you're pushing it to large town level or maybe even higher, you know, even if you were to give it to island level, then we can just use your generous interpretation. Either way, I think overall the answer would be then is if time stop just happens, it stops Limitless, and then Jotaro just
clobbers him.
Oof, yeah, I don't even want to imagine what would happen there. But if you're of someone who thinks that Limitless would stop time stop, as we kind of mentioned before, like if Jotaro can't beat Limitless, then all that scaling just doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter unless you use like the crazy ass like inaccessible speed scaling, then that's different. But I don't even believe that. That's deranged talk. I'm not even part of that part of the power scaling community. That's crazy. That's on some Flash shit.
Crazy talk.
Yes, that's insane. You got to be a crazy power scaler to get anywhere near that.
All right, let's roll it one more time. Let's see what's going on next. That might have been the first loss that he got so far, which again, I'm surprised he made it this far in general.
He lost again. That's crazy.
Oh, Chariot Requiem. All right. Tell me why he loses.
So this one's interesting. So Requiem powers, for anybody that doesn't know, are busted, but from what we can gather, they do bypass infinity because they affect on a soul level. So they're not even in the physical space anymore. They're a whole tier above that. So to give a TLDR on how Chariot Requiem works, he will make you sleep, and after you sleep, you will switch bodies with somebody. So Gojo will switch bodies with somebody else. I don't know who. Choose whoever. Off of that alone,
yikes,
he loses all of his abilities. So he's fucked off of that. But let's say hypothetically that doesn't happen. What happens after that? So here's the problem. After enough time is present being near Chariot Requiem, your body will slowly start to transform into something else. What it is, we don't know. It shows up in the manga very briefly, but your body will be soon taken over by some type of extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional creature of some kind. I'll just leave it at that. Your body will die, it'll become something else, you're fucked. It completely negates any durability. Even if you have a stand to try to revert it, you will become something else. That's just how it is. Not even Giorno with gold experience was able to reverse it. Even Diovala with his ability. The only way to stop it is to figure out where the direction of your shadow is. It's really dumb and convoluted. So you have to basically hit this sun that's behind you, but you have to figure it out. But it's really weird, and only 2 characters were able to figure that out after analyzing the stand ability for a while. So more or less, to bring it down, Gojo would be affected by Chariot Requiem. It would affect him on a soul level. It totally bypasses infinity. He would just slowly die after being transformed into something else, and or his body would swap to a different person's and he would lose all of his abilities. More or less, that's how it would go. But I will say this, Chariot Requiem wouldn't target him directly. He would only target Gojo if he had the arrow or an object he wanted. In all, technically speaking here, this fight is Gojo would be affected, but Chariot Requiem wouldn't purposely try to fight him.
Right. And that completely tracks with everything. Yeah. As we know, like even in Jujutsu Kaisen, like there is a complete difference between like physical attacks, curse energy attacks, and soul attacks. And it's pretty much confirmed that like the only 2 characters that are even aware of like 1, how to heal that kind of damage, and 2, even properly defend against it are Yuji and Sukuna. And soul attacks are just a complete durability negging thing even in Jujutsu Kaisen. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. I'm sure there's people that will say, oh, well, it's the same as cursed energy. I don't think that's going to be the case, just going off of Meta's explanation entirely. Because we know that Gojo has the 6 eyes, and we also know that he wouldn't be targeted directly by it. Is there any way that Gojo would be able to like destroy Chariot Requiem while staying outside of its like effectiveness? And also because the 6 eyes would let him know what he's dealing with, he would know directly not to engage or aggro it, I guess.
So depending on how valid some of these statements are, there's 2 ways to say this. All of Rome, in terms of range, is affected by Chariot Requiem. Everybody is falling asleep, switching places, switching their souls with somebody else, and then transforming into some Heisenberg monster. However, Mista in Trisha's body states that it is affecting the entire planet. I might have to give you the panel again. There's a lot of stuff I have to give you for this. It depends on how you see it. Because if it's an entire planet, which isn't very, it's an entire planet range. It's not shown very well, so I don't know how valid the statement is. Gojo can't outrun it. It's going to hit you. You're fucked. I don't know what you're going to do. You're going to switch with somebody else. You can hurt it, but like I think it instantly regenerates. Chariot Requiem, symbolically speaking, is the shadow to your soul, basically.
I guess it comes down to the whole idea of, is Gojo going to get his body swapped? In which case, again, whose body is he going into? If he's pulling a Polnareff, that's kind of game over right then and there. You know, you can't really do much in a turtle body, or like a Ginyu. You're stuck in a frog for the rest of life.
Okay, if it was Ginyu, though, that'd be different. That's crazy.
Say, like, if Gojo started becoming like this Cronenberg monster, like, is that instantaneous? Like, is he just screwed? Or like, would he have like enough time to like, oh shit, I'm fucked. Let me take this guy out before it happens completely. Or let me take the sun out before it happens completely.
It takes time. We actually never saw the full ramifications of what that ability is. Chariot Requiem actually has like undiscovered like power scaling potential here. We just don't know anything. We just know that it swaps souls. It makes you sleep, swap souls. You'll slowly become a Cronenberg monster, and it has a massive range. However, it's a glass cannon. If you figure out that there is a miniature sun behind you, and it's like his shadow is only ever in one perspective, you'd have to have a crazy perception to even like figure out that's the case entirely. And then you have to figure out, oh, where's the light coming from? So there's a he can defeat it. I think he could, but it would require a lot of brain power.
He definitely has. He has some of the best battle intelligence in his own series, and it just goes to show like the fact that like we've had so many 50-50s here so far, like how genuine, like it really just goes to show like how not helpless, but like how much more of a problem this man has stepping into this verse. It's crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy. So here we go. You've been waiting for this.
No, so this is probably just going to be D4. I didn't do Love Train. I don't want to do Love Train because that is a clusterfuck of conversation we need to talk about. So I'll just do regular D4C. So D4C and Funny Valentine have the ability to go through different dimensions when colliding with an object. So how Funny Valentine can move in between dimensions if to use an example, my door is right next to me. If I were to place myself in between the wall and the door, he is able to squish himself or fold onto himself and travel into a different parallel dimension. And that's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's like, okay, you can travel into different universes and timeline. That's cool, but how is it really effective? Well, D4C has the ability, Funny Valentine, to bring versions of himself into that universe and even others, so on and so forth. So he could travel in between universes and stuff and meet different versions of Gojo and himself having this fight. But the problem is, if Gojo makes contact with himself, an alternate universe version of himself, because more likely than not, how also the ability works is wherever like the space he folded on into becomes a doorway now. Anybody can walk into that like space and walk into that different multiverse or universe in general. So Funny Valentine, because he is smart about this, he could like be like, hey, come into this world with me. What's gonna happen? Like, the only way you're gonna beat me is if you follow me. How D4C's abilities work is he's the only person that is allowed to touch himself. Don't think about that wrong. That is gross. If anybody else decides to, high five themselves, they will collide with each other and they will literally blow up. It's just that those molecules cannot exist in the same place together for whatever reason. It's just how the universe works. They will instantly die. The problem is, I don't know how infinity works with this.
How do two infinite spaces that are going to slow each other down entirely so they can't touch each other interact with each other? Is that just going to cause a universal reset and just blow everything up?
I don't know. That's actually a very interesting question. Two infinities colliding with each other. I guess it just depends. But the thing is too here, this fight is not going to be short by any means. Steel Ball run scaling is not very good. Funny Valentine just doesn't have a lot of like good feats until he gets his power up, which is Love Train, but that's a different discussion for a different day. But Funny Valentine has the ability to give his stand and his memories to a different Funny Valentine. Basically meaning here, Funny Valentine has infinite lives. As long as he's able to transcend into a different dimension or go into a different dimension and find a parallel version of himself, he can give the ability D4C to another Valentine and basically live on for basically forever. He's basically immortal. Well, not entirely immortal. He can still die, but as long as he gets himself to another version, he basically is more or less immortal. Funny Valentine can technically go into a different universe and find a multitude of different Gojos with different powers. So if anything, this becomes a 2v1. And this is just fun. This necessarily doesn't have to exactly happen, but
or he finds a Gojo with the exact ability that completely like reverses the Limitless and just like null and voids it entirely. Like, Gojo, I found the perfect counter for you. It's yourself.
You know what? And it's entirely possible because this does basically happen in the end of Steel Ball Run. I won't spoil it, but he does find somebody with an adequate power and gives them prep time for them to fight Johnny Joestar. So depending on how you want to see this fight and how long you want to see it span out, technically speaking, this is a very long fight that could happen over a very long time, and there could be a lot of shenanigans about. Gonna last longer than like a month or something. I don't know. Gojo can just hollow purple him. He can't get anywhere. He instantly dies. D4C is done. Game over. But if you want to say this is drawn out, you want to bring out every hypothetically question possible with D4C and Funny Valentine, this fight could be extremely interesting.
Gojo has unlimited stamina. If it is like a 1 month long fight or 2 month long fight where Gojo's just like constantly dimension hopping to chase this motherfucker to like the ends of the universe and keep killing Funny Valentines, like this is the man to do it, which I think is actually makes it even more funny. Just like an entirely separate alternate timeline universe of Gojo with like a scar over his eye, and he's like, I've been through 3,000 universes to find you.
It'd actually be so cool, dude.
I mean, Gojo does have unlimited void, like, domain expansion, the sure hit, can't miss attack, but like you figure for specifically for like for certain areas where it's going to just completely fill someone with infinite amount of knowledge and just like stun lock them.
I will give it to Gojo, but if we really want to extend this and give like every hypothetical possible to Funny Valentine, because he is smart, he'd probably figure out like, I can't beat this guy regularly. There's no way. I need other means to do this. But I'll give it to Gojo.
110%.
Realistically, Funny Valentine has to find another Funny Valentine to keep on living. So as long as Gojo can break the chain once, it's basically over. He wins.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get rid of Dirty Deeds Done dirt sheet and let's move on. Let's roll this wheel, baby. Next up, we've got Made in Heaven.
Motherfucker. All right. Okay. So, Made in Heaven, blatantly, has infinite speeds and has been shown to be as strong as Star Platinum, if not stronger. So you're basically just dealing with another Star Platinum with a crazy amount of speed. He'd be able to travel the distance of infinity. More likely than not, this is just an instant speed blitz. I don't really know how else to really describe this fight. It just would happen over incredibly fast.
Yeah, no, there's no other way to put it. It's over and done with. I mean, like you said, it's infinite speed. And just to give context for someone that's not completely familiar, Made in Heaven basically just gives its stand user Pucci the ability to speed the universe up to the point where it can literally just cause a full universal reset. Like everything just goes so fast. It leaves living things alone, I'm pretty sure, right? But like everything else in the universe is just accelerated to the absolute degree. And it's just the overall point and what Metas is getting at is that it's going to be moving so fast to the point that like Limitless will not be able to slow it down.
Affect them.
Literally impossible.
Yeah. Technically speaking, getting into the finer details, how it's presented, it's not infinite speed, it's immeasurable speed. Pucci can show up at any point at any time using Made in Heaven. So he can be like, I want to be at Florida about like 100 years from now. Instantly does that. Or he's like, I want to show up like 100 years ago in like Canada or something. He instantly speeds up the universe, depending on your interpretation of how fast it goes. And then now he's back in time already there. You're looking at a character so fast that none of the abilities Gojo has would be able to affect him. He's as strong as Star Platinum, way faster than Star Platinum, and way faster than Gojo. He just blitz. Just end the conversation. We don't need to do any more minutes than this.
All right. Well, that's pretty simple. Yeah. It's pretty cut and dry there. Made in Heaven is like the perfect Gojo killing stand. Like you couldn't get any more perfect than that.
A whole verse, bro.
Yeah. At this point, that's what it seems like. Literally.
Let me be a hater.
We got Cheap Trick.
Son of a bitch. Okay, so this one's really easy to explain. This is an easy Gojo win. Cheap Trick requires its physical self to attach to a person. Infinity is a thing. Cheap Trick cannot attach it to Gojo. More or less, that's the end of it.
Damn. I was really hoping like Cheap Trick had like it completely ignores durability or whatever.
No. Well, unless it gets on to you. But if you have like a barrier that
Limitless is on 24/7, so it would never be able to.
It would never be able to. Like it requires once it's physically on you, there's the problem. But if it can never physically get onto you, it doesn't matter. And for anybody who's gonna say, but it's a stand, Metas, it's a soul thing, we can get into the entire discussion of what the fuck a stand is, because it's not that simple. Cheap Trick is not a soul-based stand. It requires physical touch for it to activate. So it's like it's not gonna work here. A hollow purple.
This is literally the easiest win Gojo has gotten all day.
Yes.
Literally all day.
It does not work. It just doesn't work. I don't need to explain anything else.
It's kind of crazy. All right, who's coming up next, baby? Is it Jumpin' Jack Flash? Jumpin' Jack Flash. Let's go. The GOAT. I'll give you the small breakdown because you're definitely the JoJo's person. I'm definitely not gonna be able to explain it as well as you could have. But like basically, it's the stand that relies on power of gravity removal. So basically,
that's right.
Traps Jolene and Weather Report inside like this set space in the prison, and he basically turns it into an airlock, whereby basically removing all of the gravity in there, it basically creates a suffocating effect, like you're in space. Because Gojo requires to breathe air, Limitless or no Limitless, he's gonna have a problem because it's gonna be hard for him. There's gonna be no air to breathe. I believe the only reason they were even able to this situation. Yeah, they had Weather Report who was able to give them like astronaut helmets with air inside of it.
So I will say this. It depends on the area they're fighting in, but I still think Gojo wins this because he can fly and shit. So like the whole anti-gravity thing isn't really going to be a problem for him because like flying is just gravity removal in general. So like if this place isn't like a confusing mess and it takes an extremely long time to find, Jumping Jack Flash's stand user, God, that is extremely hard to say. Like Gojo can just destroy him. I don't think he necessarily has any good scaling either. I think because this is an early Jolene, so she's fairly weak compared to her later counterparts.
Yeah, and he's definitely like, more of a gimmick stand than he is like a power stand. Yeah, because he has like his whole like nail shooting thing, and that's how he kind of like gets one over on him.
It's over. This one's an easy one, unless it's like in a hyper complex maze scenario, and like Gojo has to like go through the maze or something. Like that's the only case I would imagine he would like slowly suffocate and die. But like, if they're right next to each other, fair fighting ground, it's just like, oh no, I'm floating. Hollow purple or red or blue or anything you really want, or just with his hands. He could just beat his ass with his hands and it just be game over.
Making the whole entire airlock situation where it creates a vacuum and starts like making air just dangerous and sucking blood out of any kind of wound, everything like that. It doesn't really happen until an effective amount of time has passed for the actual environment to be created. So Gojo definitely going up against someone that has no physical stats or physical feats of their own is just pretty easily cooked. All right, let's roll this. Let's see what happens next, because we're getting closer and closer to like. Okay, here we go.
Wah, okay, this one's an interesting one. The reason why I put Doobie Wah on the list is, so how this works. This is an automatic stand, and the stand can chase you because it's automatically locked onto you. The only way for you to not get hurt by this thing is it's able to take away the oxygen in the air, or just the oxygen away from you. So the only way to stop it from taking the oxygen away from you is you basically have to hold your breath, basically. It's like the ocean on land. You have to hold your breath in order to fight it. And the only way to really stop it, to my knowledge, because automatic stands are kind of like a little bit broken in JoJo, because even if the stand gets hurt, the user doesn't, and the user can actually be quite a ways away from this stand. This requires a lot of hypotheticals of how this matchup is actually going to work. So unless this user's far away or close by, Gojo can literally suffocate to death here on oxygen. If the user's close, he can just, use one of his abilities and it's boom, it's game over. He's dead. Or if he's really far away, this kind of becomes a problem because you have to constantly run away from it. It's not like it affects a massive area. The stand has to be relatively close by it for it to like make you suffocate on air. So it's a bit interesting. So Gojo's gonna probably either play cat and mouse with this guy for a little bit, or if they're really close by next to each other, it's just like instant deletion. He himself has like no scaling either. He's really just a guy relying on hacks with a Doobie Wah stand user.
And now I ask you this because I haven't read up to part 8, so I'm not too familiar, and I could be wrong here. I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now, and I don't know if this either completely disproves everything that was said or is correct. Does the stand user need to touch the person to sick the stand on them?
I can't remember.
This says he needs to touch someone or at least touch their stand to make Doobie Wah actually pursue and attack the target. So if that is the case, oof.
So that if that's the case, then no, it wouldn't even work. He'd be cooked.
Hopefully Gojo's got a friend with him.
Yeah. Or something. I want Heaven's Door. For the love of God, Will. Give me Heaven's Door.
Give him the Rohan rant, please.
Please. I don't like Rohan. I have a PhD in
The Grateful Dead, which I think I'm interested to hear what you think, because Gojo would win stat-wise, but I think ability-wise, this would definitely be able to bypass Limitless.
So how Grateful Dead works is Grateful Dead is able to, it's not really oxygen, it's kind of like in the anime it's green, so it's kind of like a stink. It's creams a stink.
A stink, that smelly smell that smells smelly.
It's just like, it's like in the air, I guess I'll say that. So Grateful Dead is able to produce like this thing in the air. And what this thing in the air does is it's able to age everybody in a massive distance. I have scaled this one personally myself. It's able to like cover an entire train's distance in length in terms of area. So it's able to basically age anybody. If you're a dude, and Gojo's a dude, so it's able to age anybody older in terms of heat. So if Gojo's in this area and it affects it on an air-based level, as it's shown in the anime and the manga, it'd have to affect Gojo because Gojo has to fucking breathe. Gojo would basically age into oblivion, basically. You'll rapidly age. Actually, in the anime, I know they make it a difference. It's like, if the stand user, Jojo, if he's able to touch you, you instantly age into like an elderly old man or an elderly old woman. But even the gas itself, almost nearly instantly ages you. It takes some time. From how the manga and anime show it, it's extremely fast. So if Gojo is in proximity to Jojo, he's gonna age extremely quickly, and he could possibly just become a crippled old man. So in terms of hacks here, this one actually is pretty detrimental to Gojo. I don't know how the universe's abilities work with elderly people. Like, does like curse energy get weaker over time as somebody ages, or does it like get stronger? I don't exactly know here.
Sorcery is like kind of one of those like career paths where it's like, if you have survived that long, there is probably a reason for it. But also at the same time, like, we do have inverse characters like Principal Gaku Kanji, who are like one of the oldest characters that we can even try and scale, and this man is one of the weakest characters in the verse. So that would completely contradict everything that I just said, even though most of the way that sorcery is supposed to be presented is that kind of like, again, if you are able to even survive longer than a year in the career, you're basically built different than most other people just because of how hectic the career is. Because also, like, we do have characters that are 1,000 years old, but those characters are only in their prime form because, one, you have characters that are like body hopping to keep, you know, peak form, stuff like this. So it's kind of hard to say if Gojo aging up to being an old man would like nerf him in any way, because like obviously you could say that just by nature of getting older you lose physical power, you lose, you know, mental capability, because I know that's also something that specifically Grateful Dead is able to affect, right? Like it can literally age your brain to where you literally, it's not like you become an old man and you're still currently coherently there. Like you will have the mental capacity of an old man. If we're to use Jujutsu Kaisen's like likeness to like Hunter x Hunter, Netero is a fucking god at the age that he's at, and he is a god because of how old that he is. So it's one of those things where we just don't have anything from the series that really would confirm or deny how age affects you. Well, we do also have that curse energy is stronger in death, but that's in death, not in old age.
So here's a crazy one I just thought of. I actually think there's an argument to say here that Gojo, with his ability to regenerate, might be able to prolong his aging, or the effective aging onto him. So if this is a long range fight and he's slowly being aged, he can use his regeneration powers to like, I'm not saying like completely stop it, but able to like, I was like 25 about like 5 minutes ago, but I'm getting close to 50 here. I gotta fucking hurry this up. My body's not able to like, is not being able to keep up with this for a very long time. I think that could honestly be a factor here.
Use reverse curse technique to slowly stop the aging process enough. And of course, Gojo being the character with the 6 eyes and having unlimited stamina, unlimited curse energy, he's one of the only characters who can canonically continually use reverse curse technique at that degree where it would barely affect his energy output.
If he has limitless stamina, even as an old man, the only way he's going to die is due to his brain or his heart failing. He could, even if he's like 100 years old, he'd be fine.
I would probably put more money on, again, old man Gojo still being a fucking tank.
I thought this was gonna be. I think this was gonna be a wash, but no, I actually have to give it a Gojo here, man.
Well, the problem is it just depends on like how quickly like my man is able to age Gojo, because we do have instances where like he's able to accelerate the aging. We know, I'm pretty sure he has to touch them. He can't do that, but he can raise the temperature in the area. It depends on where they're fighting. Like if they're fighting in a desert, I mean, he would cooked. He would be, and like we also see the aging of the Grateful Dead be like so crazy. It's like literally like you're wrinkling to the point like you're a skeleton. Like you age until like you literally, your body is just decomposing while alive. It's not just like Gojo gets to 80 years old and then he stops at 80 and he just has to fight as like an old man with like his geriatric body. Like he's gonna age to the point where it's like debilitating. Although again, if he can slow the aging down, that's definitely a good feat to have. I mean, hey, if he can find Prosciutto, which again with the 6 eyes is gonna be very easy for him, even if Prosciutto tries to hide or aging himself to hide amongst the other aged people in the train so they can't find the stand user, can't do that. Gojo will immediately pick him out of a crowd instantly. And as metas would love to say, hollow purple.
Hollow purple.
Fuck those train goers.
But if it's not on the train and it's just like an open field or something, which is totally possible, I think Gojo should be realistically fine here. How Limitless works and all the bullshit Gojo has, I think he would be fine, even if he was like 80 years old, or he's able to slow down the slow down the aging cycle thanks to his like curse technique of regeneration. He should be fine. I actually think he wins now. I came into this thinking Grateful Dead was going to clear, but like now that you said it and now thinking about it, nah, Gojo's fine. He clears. He's good.
I also thought Grateful Dead would be a pretty bad matchup as well. That was my pick for the list. I thought that was going to be a done deal. But yeah, as we're finding out, same with Jumpin' Jack Flash and some of these, it's like, oh wow, this ability is going to cook him, and then like you actually start talking about it and you're like, well,
never mind. He's cooked.
No, I think it goes to show you like reverse how interesting everything. Yeah, reverse cook.
So let's just go ahead and spin this.
Yes, go. Yippee.
This video is sponsored by me. I don't need to give you guys the full spiel. You already know I'm a full-time content creator and I need to keep the lights on. If you enjoy my content and want to keep seeing more of it, please consider showing your support by becoming a member of the channel. $1 is all it takes to be a member, and it gets you instant access to the community Discord where we all hang out and keep discussions going after lives or uploads. And if you join the $5 tier, you also get access to exclusive streams on Wednesdays. Also, if you want more anime manga content in general, just check out my second channel where I cover all the weekly series you may or may not read, as well as post and stream extra content like tier lists and other fun stuff. I'll also have a third channel, annoying, I know, but this is where all the gameplay and stream highlights are going to go for the future in case you missed something. So just know that I love you guys and I appreciate all the support you give. Let's get back to the video.
Okay, Wheel, give me something interesting to talk about that's not just going to be a wash. Oh, yes.
Already?
Yes.
Oh, ooh.
Hey, man.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on. Remember chat or YouTube comment section. I don't know everything by heart because that's a lot of info. Hangman. So a really fast stand goes for the jugular. It's a part 3 stand, so it's really basic.
Hangman is a stand that attacks a person through their reflection, and it's honestly pretty debatable if Limitless would get bypassed through attacking Gojo this way, but Gojo could just easily demolish all the reflective objects in the area. I think the biggest thing for Hanged Man would be, is he actually light when he's moving between reflections? Because I guess the only argument that I could actually see for Hanged Man potentially affecting Gojo and getting through Limitless would be if he actually does turn into light in Stardust Crusaders. He actually goes right directly into Polnareff's eye. So is that if he's pure light and goes right through Limitless because it's smaller than subatomic, we know that that's able to go through Limitless. I mean, if light can't go through Limitless, Gojo would literally just be blind. He wouldn't be able to see at all. So we already know light goes through Limitless.
It would be crazy just keeping the fucking bandana on and he would be able to win.
Oh my god, that's so true. The blindfold is the win con here.
Just don't let your eyes be seen. Yeah, like he'd be able to, because light. Plus the stand isn't really like, it's not that strong in retro. Like Polnareff is able to like easily cut up him and his stand user Jay Guile. So it's just like I don't think this is like a really like crazy stand other than its speed and ability, which Gojo should be able to counter pretty I wouldn't say effortlessly, but easily. It's just Hangman. He just gives us light speed feats in Jojo. Other than that, he's like not really that interesting, at least in my opinion.
To be fair, I immediately gave up on Hangman the moment we realized that the blindfold was all Gojo needed to be completely invulnerable in this fight.
Or like in any environment where there's like not another person or anything, it's just like a fucking like hallway or something, and it's just like you really can't do anything here, Jay Guile. You're cooked.
Literally, the only kind of damage I think Hangman would be able to do to Gojo would easily just be ignored by like reverse curse technique. Like he would just be able to heal it easily. I mean, I guess sure, if he's not wearing the blindfold and he gets inside of Gojo's eye and like cuts him directly inside of his head, like literally as he's in between transition of objects, you could make the argument. But again, we've seen Gojo repair his brain before and other characters, so it's
he's extremely durable, and his regeneration just is to boot too. So it's just like
to the point even a sneak attack in his reflection wouldn't one-shot him or do anything. So unfortunately, stand that can get through Limitless but can't kill Gojo. Let's see, let's roll it one more time.
Give me something that's not a fighting based one. Civil War. Right?
This is going to be an all you one, baby.
So how Civil War works is how the ability procs is making, if you feel guilty towards anything, more or less, if Gojo feels guilty about anything, and definitely knowing his character, he is probably guilty for a lot, kind of like this veil. It's more like a membrane. I think that's what they described it in the manga. This membrane kind of foams over you, and you kind of constantly repeat like this guiltiness that you've done to another person or to yourself. It just kind of suffocates you, like, because you know that's how guilt is. It's just like a kind of guilt it's like a fully realized feeling of how guilt physically feels. Like it's not like emotional, it's more physical in this sense. So depending if a Civil War can proc, this should be able to hurt Gojo, because it's more on Gojo himself than the stand here in this case. So
Gojo's definitely got some skeletons in the closet for sure.
Oh, yeah,
for
definitely.
sure. I mean, that is literally canonically how he gets sealed in Shibuya incident, because the main villain literally took over his best friend's corpse that he had to kill. There's probably other forms of guilt that of just being a Jujutsu sorcerer entails, but even just taking advantage of the entire hidden inventory, Riko Amanai, the Star Plasma Vessel, getting shot by Toji, killing his adopted son's dad and never telling him about it. There's so many different things that this could take advantage of. And like you said, they're kind of like almost like ghosts, or like they're like metaphysical beings, right? Like they should be able to just, they're not really going to be pushed back by Limitless or the infinite space that's appearing. They're just going to walk through Gojo.
It's like a weird like physical / non-physical thing. And I'll add two things here. Even if Gojo does kill Axl Rowe, Gojo's not going to feel guilty for killing Axl Rowe like Johnny did. It's just not in Gojo's character. So like the rebirth from guilt like ability that Axl Rowe has, because it's like, I died, you feel guilty, I've now come back to life thanks to my stand, wouldn't work here. This ability could work, like the whole like guilt membrane could crush him and suffocate him.
After Riko dies, he literally looks at Geto and he's like, yeah, do you want to just kill all these people? I probably just wouldn't care at all if that happened. He wants to save humans, but like he knows what needs to be done, and he's willing to do what needs to be done.
It could be potentially effective, but for the most part, I would say Gojo probably clears here. And if anything, this is an interesting way of how this stand ability would work in like a domain expansion. Even if he's killed, like the ability can still be there. So it'd be weird. Like I think this one's very scenario dependent and probably requires a lot more thought, at least in specific with Civil War here. So I give it to Gojo, but like with the like that added caveat of potentially could kill if the circumstances were correct.
Toughest part is like the membrane that ends up getting, you know, created as the ghost, and all the guilt and everything continues to pile on and everything like that. It's unclear if it would even be able to actually kill Gojo, because I think Hot Pants still survive even after going through everything. So it's with reverse curse technique, like you said, if Gojo probably wouldn't feel guilty for killing Axl Rowe, and even if that was the case, if let's say Gojo killed him and he was like, oh, you know what, actually that guy was pretty cool, I feel bad about that, and he comes back and he's like, oh, I still need to make sure this guy's dead, then domain expansion, he can just turn him into a vegetable.
It would be interesting for the most part. I would like to see how that fight would kind of play out, but maybe in my head I'm hyping up it a little bit too much.
I think we'd be at the number 10 count for Hollow Purple.
Hollow Purple, biatch.
Give the people what they want. Let's spin this shit. What's next?
Come on, give me something cool.
We got soft and wet. TikTok's favorite fucking matchup, apparently. I gotta probably end up doing this video. Is this canon? Is that true?
Yeah, I see a lot of people liking this fight. So I guess to really cut to it, because I know what people are gonna want is just go beyond. There's a lot of interpretations on how this stand works in the end game. Go Beyond has the ability to shoot out bubbles that spin so fast that they stop existing in our reality, meaning that in theory, technically within JoJo's, this thing can technically hit anybody guaranteed. It depends on how you look at it. It could either partially affect concepts themselves, like equivalent to like an Act 3 or Act 2 bullet from Johnny. So it's like it's able to do like a massive amount of damage to the physical body. There's a lot of leeway here. On top of that, Soft and Wet has Plunder, which is his ability to like steal things, quotation marks, away from people. It's very abstract. Josuke can steal like the water from a person's body, the eyesight, the friction from it. It's kind of weird. There's never been like a limitation given to it. So like in theory, like potentially, I'm not going to say it could happen, but like Soft and Wet could steal, if we're just using a random person, like their blood or their heartbeat or et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of ways that Gappy could theoretically one-shot a person. Now, would they affect Gojo? In the case of Plunder, probably not, but the Go Beyond bubble, since it's like moving infinitely and it bypasses anything, like infinity itself wouldn't matter here, because it just wouldn't care about infinity, so it would land. So now it's just become this like battle of just like whose abilities are better. I think this is like a similar case with our last video, where it's like this fight needs a whole like video in and of itself. I can't summarize this in like 5 minutes. Infinity wouldn't work here on Gappy. It just wouldn't.
Not against Go Beyond, not at all, because literally the fact that the bubbles become non-existent is the truest sense of the word, and I don't even think it alerts Wonder of You's Calamity. I'm pretty sure, because it's not. So if we're to go based off of the fact that Limitless, even of itself, it has the whole subatomic particles condition, you know, sometimes poisons can get through. Obviously, light is able to get through, and the reason why that is because Gojo's Limitless works automatically in a sense of it detects not violence per se, but it basically detects threats or things that are able to hurt him, and that's basically how it deciphers that. So if they're already non-existent, so that takes away the physical property of the bubble getting, you know, pushed away by the infinite space. It also completely removes the idea that Gojo's Limitless would even interpret the bubble, even if that non-existent thing wasn't a clause, because it's not going to determine that as a threat. So I think they would get through. Like you said, Metas, I think the big thing is they just overall probably wouldn't cause too much damage in like one shot. Like it would probably take a couple of the bubbles if they are like building level. Obviously,
remember there are some people that think so. This is where we get into the weird arguments. I did a video with other JoJo YouTubers, and it is kind of contentious on how you view it. But like that last shot that he uses to like kill Wonder View, and it's like its true form state. Some people view that as like basically like a law of the universe. So like the AP scaling here goes from like you can hurt a wall to just like, oh, you're probably fucking dead. It's going to do like a massive amount of damage. So I'd say it just depends. On the lower end, it would be pretty interesting. On the higher end, it gets very wild. Even then, in terms of scaling too, the scaling you use for Wonder View also affects Go Beyond, because of course Wonder View has like the Iraqi statements in the back of his like pocket. Like we haven't used them yet. We haven't seen them yet. We'll probably end up seeing them in this video, but like Wonder View when we get to them is just like insanely powerful. So if you just do like A/B scaling, you just have to assume like Wonder View just at the end game of JoJo is ridiculously powerful as well. They would heavily damage each other for the most part. Like Infinity is not in play here, so it's actually like more of an interesting discussion than usual.
I guess because there's that large gap of attack potency, the durability, I imagine, as well, between building and who the hell knows. I guess it's kind of hard to say whether red, blue, hollow purple would like actually, you know, is it one shot? What soft and wet's done? Is it going to take multiple times to kill soft and wet and their user or Gappy? Also, you have to imagine, you know, I imagine domain expansion in most situations for Gojo is probably an instant win con, but is he going to be able to accomplish that? And I guess my question before we settle on the result would be that whole plunder ability. That is something that could potentially be a large threat to Gojo if it's able to get through Limitless. Is that ability able to be used with the Go Beyond bubbles, or no? It actually, the bubbles have to be physically, they have to make physical contact.
So Gappy has like 3 bubbles. He has like explosive bubbles that he borrows from Killer Queen, spoilers by the way, and then he just has like the bubbles that just plunder, and then the Go Beyond bubbles. So it just it depends on how you see how the bubbles interact, because it's like they do have to travel distance. So for the most part, the explosion bubbles and the plunder bubbles aren't probably going to do anything to Infinity itself, unless plunder could take away, like, could probably just take away your fucking brain, to be honest. So like if
can it take away physical properties in and of itself? Like, can it just take Limitless away?
I don't. If Limitless was turned off, yes, but if it's already on the get-go, no. It's very conditional, at least in my opinion. I think overall what you technically could say, and for the most part, it's going to end up being the win condition, at least in terms of this fight, domain expansion. Domain expansion is going to be a big one here for the most part. Gojo probably wins, but that probably is like at 51%. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Yeah, let's move on. We've been spending so much time on soft and wet.
I knew we were. That's why I put him. That's why I said put him in the list. Oh, we're gonna get Enigma. Okay, we were talking about this before we started recording. So Enigma, basically very similar to Civil War. If he catches like a pattern you do when you're like nervous or scared or afraid, it needs to see it once, and then by the second time it will proc, and once it procs, it will allow Enigma's user, I'm not gonna say his name, it's like completely Japanese, I'm gonna ruin it, can place you in kind of like a paper world, quote unquote. Now, in theory, yes, this should be able to proc on Gojo just like how Civil War did. However, problem is, I don't think that would ever happen. Going based off of personalities, this isn't gonna affect Gojo at all. At least in my opinion. Enigma's cool, but like at least in this versus, it just wouldn't end up mattering in the long run. You're scared or you're afraid, and then you're giving off like a subconscious motion that you are, which I don't think would ever happen with Gojo. He would literally just be standing still the entire time, just not scared at all.
Let alone that it happens twice, so you can recreate the tell for the ability to take effect. My question would be is if, let's say for example, if it's not even in a one-on-one fight situation, let's give Enigma the greatest benefit of the doubt here. Let's say they're just stalking Gojo. Is it like, now what kind of like level of fear or nervousness does it have to be? Does it have to be all out like, holy shit, I'm terrified? Or can it be like, you know what I mean, Gojo's walking down the street and he almost steps on something and he goes, oh, you know?
I think it would probably, because it has to be subtle. So it's like, if you're just in a fight, just a regular fight, and your opponent does something that you're nervous about, like, oh, he took a slightly different step than usual, and then you all of a sudden like twitch your thumb because you're like, oh, that's just your subconscious like nervousness kicking in. Like, for whatever reason, if Gojo was scared in this instance, which I would doubt, and he just like starts doing this like weird twitch with the shoulder, and he does it once, and then Enigma notices it a second time, for whatever reason, if he did that, the ability would then proc, and then he would lose.
You've got Gojo going up against Sukuna, probably the best match he'll ever have in his entire life, and the thought of losing crosses his mind, and a smile comes across his face. He's like, damn, haven't felt this way in a while. This is pretty cool. Like, it's so like, even up against soft and wet, like, and he's like about to die, even that is kind of like questionable. Will Gojo actually show nervousness?
I don't think it would proc. Nah. I really don't.
They can get through Limitless. They can't kill Gojo though, unfortunately. Let's spin.
Let's see. Come on, give me something interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Yellow Temperance.
So it's so funny. So I put this on here, and it's funny because this came after Civil War. Like, my whole thing was like, oh, Yellow Temperance could turn into or shapeshift into Geto and emotionally manipulate Gojo some way. But like, we already had literally Civil War come in and have the exact same discussion at a much better like ability. So like, I don't even really know.
I'll keep it in short here. It's basically game over. This thing is, because it requires to be big brain. Limitless, domain expansion, hollow no. Yellow Temperance isn't getting through him. It's for anybody wondering what the ability is too. Yellow Temperance, when it comes in contact with your skin, just starts like eating you or like dissolving you. It's basically like stomach acid, but like in a more like solid-ish state. But like, it quite literally, in its basic nature, can't affect Gojo. This is just a wash.
Yellow Temperance also, I'm pretty sure you can use the organic material to like shapeshift the user and change itself. I was thinking like, oh, he turns into, you know, his best friend, and Gojo's like, oh my god, and then like he turns off his Limitless, even though he would never do that, and then just gets shanked in the stomach or something. The one time he left his guard down. No, this was immediately dethroned and literally held no importance the moment Civil War added made its way to the list. We're just gonna forget that was even a thing here. We're gonna move on. Every video gets one, you know.
Yes. Can we?
Okay. Yes. There we go. You got Marilyn Manson like you wanted.
Yes. So this is an interesting one. So this one is not a combat-based stand. This is gambling. Now, I love these in terms of cross versus matchups, because it's not like just because you can destroy a building doesn't mean, you know, you're winning this. So how Marilyn Manson works is you're basically gambling, and like Marilyn Manson is just basically the house, but the house gets everything. So like, Marilyn Manson user would fight Gojo, and it would basically just be them gambling, like not like in terms of chips and coins, but like real life items and materials. Eventually, if the fight escalates to a point, it'd be like Gojo basically giving up like his heart or something for equal value. So there would be like a challenge or something set forth by Marilyn Manson, and then Gojo would have to end up doing it. So it then would just rely on like Gojo's skill. and like them continuously betting. At least in terms of the anime, when the girls fight Marilyn Manson, by sundown, how many catches can you do? And they kept on escalating it and escalating it and escalating it until they started reaching like absurd numbers. And like to play the game, you have to give out something of equal value. So it would just basically be just one giant like poker match, but like it's more complex. It's all betting. So I think at one point it would end up just becoming like, I don't know, just name a challenge, and if Gojo can compete with it. I would actually end up saying here, for the most part, Gojo would probably end up like being completely fine for the most part, because he's just good at everything. So even if there was a bet, unless the bet was hyper specific and Gojo was dumb for accepting it and like let it kept on going again and again and again and again, he would end up losing. But for the most part, if it was just a like play with a beanbag ball until the end of sundown, Gojo would be literally fine for the most part.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gojo does literally have that accolade of just being good at everything, no matter what it is. Even if he doesn't know what it is, if it's a video game, he's first time picking him up, he's gonna be the best in the room. If it's like in the JoJo's canon, if they were throwing a ball back and forth, how many times they could do it, whatever the deal was, you know, Gojo would do it. Yeah. I guess the only argument that I would see people make would be like, oh, well, Gojo has Limitless. Even if Gojo was to lose a bet in the very weird scenario that he does, oh, Marilyn Manson would not be able to take any of his organs from him or anything, which is completely just based off the fact that Marilyn Manson is basically like intangible. You can't do any damage to it. You can't hit it. It's literally not even a part of the physical realm for what it seems like. I'm imagining that it's not going to trigger Gojo's Limitless.
It could potentially win if the circumstances are really rigged against Gojo, but like it's Gojo, so I doubt a lot of things would like overcome him.
The one thing I could see going wrong potentially is it really is like a complex bet, or a bet where the odds are stacked against him. The tough part is like while the user for Marilyn Manson or whoever's making the bet at the time is able to cheat as much as they want, like if Gojo cheats once, he gets fucked, which I don't think Gojo's not above cheating. Not that he's already good, he probably would be doing well, but I could see a situation where Gojo thinks he can cheat and it ends up backfiring on him. If Gojo loses, you know, a spleen or loses whatever, like he loses some random organ, he can keep going ultimately at the end of the day. But if Marilyn Manson is like, well, you know what, for this cost, I think your eyes are worth it. Again, Gojo cannot use Limitless without the 6 eyes.
You know what's crazy? How much was his value when he was being hunted down as a child? Was it $6 million?
Ooh, I'm not entirely sure. That's actually a really good point. I'd have to look it up.
Like Gojo can do some big brain shit and be like, nothing you bet right now is worth my life. Oh my god, I'm big braining this right now. I don't think Marilyn would be able to fucking bet against him. I don't think she has a starting price that would affect Gojo. Holy shit, wait a minute. Unless Marilyn Manson has like, just a whole bunch of money to begin with, I don't think like she'd be able just to win. Gojo can just literally outhouse her.
If they're not able to make a proper bet, because it's up to Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson it doesn't cooperate with its user. It's completely self-dependent. It judges what something's value is on its own. So I guess also at the same time, you could say that it wouldn't view Gojo the same as other people would, but I think you got a pretty good argument that it would.
Even then, if we're just going off the stand user verse, like if we're going so long into this fucking fight, Marilyn Manson's just basically the house, so it'd be more or less its user versus Gojo, and just in terms of their skills, it would just end up being in Gojo's favor to begin with. It's actually kind of hard stacked, but like give Marilyn Manson to like anybody in JJK, then it gets interesting. I think Gojo got it for the most part.
And to be very clear, even if Gojo in the middle of the gambling and he was like, you know what, fuck this, if Gojo has any thoughts or intentions of killing the user or hurting them in any way, then Marilyn Manson considers that cheating and will immediately end the game and take whatever is owed. I don't think the value would even matter at that point. If the game starts, Gojo can't like just go, okay, domain expansion, I'm going to turn you into a vegetable and just ignore all of this. Like as soon as Gojo goes to make the domain, Marilyn Manson will immediately consider that cheating and stop that. Definitely goes to Gojo, depending on, unless some crazy complex bet shows up.
Yeah. Let me see. Where we begin? Come on, give me something. Echoes. Oh, we're doing Jailhouse Lock?
Jailhouse Lock.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. Even when I was reading this, I still don't know what the fuck she does.
Jailhouse Lock is honestly like one of my favorite stands when it comes to like just overall powers and just concepts that Araki tries to throw in. It's like just so super duper interesting. It's not really like a one-on-one fight stand per se if Gojo is in prison and tries to escape the prison, which I guess if we're putting these two characters up against each other, that's the way that it would have to be. The user Mew Mew basically is able to debilitate the user's mind and brain functions to where they're not able to basically perform any complex tasks or remember more than 3 things. As soon as they remember the 4th thing, they will immediately forget the 1st thing. And the stand itself is also intangible. It can basically go through the walls of the jail, go through the bars of the jail, everything like that to avoid attack. The toughest part would be, so if Gojo kills the stand first before the ability takes place, completely possible. He would just have to destroy the entire prison most likely, or just cast his domain off rip. But if Jailhouse Lock catches him off guard, I don't know if Gojo would be able to come out of this, because he basically would be put in a position where he wakes up, he's a prisoner in jail, and he goes, oh my God, where was I? I have to get out of this. Where was I? Oh my God, I have to get out of this. 3 things. As soon as he thinks of the 4th thing, he's already forgotten the 1st thing, which is where am I? He's gonna immediately be like, oh, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
I don't think Gojo could do any of his curse techniques. They're far too complex,
and he has too many of them.
This is probably going to be the most shocking like win for his stand. Gojo does too much simultaneously at any time for him to be effective against this. He either gets caught in a loop and or he just can't use any of his abilities properly.
It's funny you say that, because actually now that I'm really thinking about it, this might be like one of the worst possible stands for Gojo to go up against, just based off of the 6 eyes alone, because Gojo's constantly getting fed information, whether he likes it or not. He's constantly learning things about his environment, surroundings, and everything. And the fact that even we see it in the Jojo canon when Mew Mew is using it against Jolene. If Jolene is looking at 3 prison guards, she literally, the 3rd one just completely disappears because her brain can't even comprehend the 4th object. It's the prison and then the 2 guards. The 3rd one literally just disappears. So literally Gojo's going to be in a constant state of forgetting, and he's not even going to be able to exist.
His greatest boon became his greatest genetic defect. Is wild.
And the worst part is like the user can just like fuck with him too. Like literally in the story, Mew Mew is like, oh hey, look at this cockroach. Oh hey, look at this fork. Oh, you already forgot? Crazy. Oh, okay, bye.
Crazy, man. Am I gaslighting you? I don't know.
Obviously, the conditions of getting Gojo into it are very specific. Like, he would have to be in the jail. He would have to get caught by Jailhouse Lock without immediately just turning on it and fucking it up. Because any damage done to Jailhouse Lock is dealt back to Mew Mew. So if he does see, oh, that wall looks weird, hollow purple, and destroys the wall, you know, they're cooked. But if he gets caught in it, I don't think there's legitimately any way for him to get out of this.
Yuji, help! I did not know Jailhouse Lock had fans, bro. That's wild.
Hey, listen, if it's only got 1 fan, that's me. If it's got no fans, I'm dead.
That's awesome. Okay, let's see. Let's move back to the list. What we got? Is weather report?
Weather report, okay. Heavy weather.
So, okay, this is where I can start yapping. Weather report has the ability to control a plethora of weather phenomenon, but even just looking at the intro for Jujutsu Kaisen, weather-based like powers or just the weather in general wouldn't affect Gojo. Literally nothing. None of weather report's powers would be able to do anything unless we're using Emporios, which then becomes a little bit different. But I'm gonna count that as heavy weather and not regular weather report. I don't think he'd do anything because it'd be like a lightning bolt doesn't affect him, a rainstorm doesn't affect him, a firestorm doesn't affect him.
I don't know about a lightning bolt. A lightning bolt might technically get, well, I guess I guess it would be perceived as a hostile.
This isn't like a wild ability that's going to really hurt Gojo. Other characters in different series, definitely, I think Weather Report would be able to affect most of the cast here in JJK, but like in specific with Gojo, no. However, Heavy Weather gets different because it gains 2 abilities that kind of will be very detrimental to Gojo. So the first one is Snail Ray or Rainbow Ray. How this ability works is Heavy Weather weather becomes rainbows, and in the rainbows are subliminal messages to think and or physically make a person turn into a snail. I will say this, it is even contentious in the JoJo community whether or not you actually become a snail because of the phenomenon that Weather Report's able to do, or you just act like a snail. It's very weird. And then the second one being is heavy weather has the ability to basically just make the air around you 100% oxygen, and if we all know correctly, if you were in science class, 100% oxygen literally kills you. This is where it gets interesting, because if Gojo were to look at a rainbow or one of heavy weather's rainbows, or he would end up becoming a snail because of course the light will pass Limitless. So it's like basically what we're dealing with is just like a domain expansion that isn't a domain expansion. Now with the killer oxygen, that one also can be debated. You know, Gojo needs to breathe, and if there's only 100% oxygen around, it's going to be extremely difficult.
I think the last conversation that we had actually really segues into this conversation, because if we're looking at 6 eyes, we're looking at Gojo getting all of this information, this hypersensitive information about the surrounding area. I guess you could even make the argument that like whether he's looking at the rainbow, the sun rays or not, it would immediately affect him because he's got the 360-degree long-range vision against his own will. Even as a child, Gojo's able to perceive hostile intent and perceive 2 curse users that are looking at him from a skyscraper above when he's just walking in the hustle and bustle of the city below and has no reason to even know that they're like looking at him. I don't think he would even be able to avoid heavy weather's sun rays or rainbows, even if he wanted to, if he's in, unless he literally closes his eyes and fights with his eyes closed.
Which he kind of does.
Which he kind of does. And again, I would even say I would throw that in there, that if his eyes are closed, are his 6 eyes truly off? Because if my man's using a blindfold, something tells me that if he could just walk around with his eyes closed, you know, like Brock from Pokemon, he probably would. But I don't know. That's clearly unclear. We haven't got that. I don't think we'll ever get that confirmed by Gege Utami. But yeah, I think I agree with you where Weather Report is kind of wishy-washy, where again, I don't know. I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me whether a lightning bolt is a viable option through Limitless or not. Regardless, heavy weather is a concrete victory. And you could even say that if Gojo starts quote unquote acting like a snail, or even just becomes a snail in general, like I doubt he would have Limitless active, so you could just stomp on him.
To clarify here too, heavy weather has probably the longest range out of every stand. He has like, I think it's blatantly confirmed, he has like city level range just everywhere. Depending on how you see it, if heavy weather changes like an entire city's oxygen count to like basically killer, I don't know what Gojo's gonna do, dog, unless you just blow up the city. Which I don't think he would and or can, but I'd also end up saying that it affects you almost instantaneously. In the manga, Pucci is like one of the strongest characters in the verse, and he's heavily affected by heavy weather's like 100% oxygen. Gojo could probably be standing for a few seconds and boom, drops to the floor just because how much like poison is now in his body because of the oxygen in the air.
Yeah, and like for people that are gonna be like, oh, Gojo can just teleport out of the city-wide range, like he can, sure, but what is he gonna do after that? He still needs to win the fight. He's got to go back at some point. He can't just dip. If he runs away, that's still a loss.
There's a whole bunch of snails around too.
I think Gojo's not going to be able to stand against weather itself, or just becoming a snail. I think that's pretty OD.
Man's cooked. All right, let's move on. Let's go. Let's see what we got.
Oh, you can finally go on your Rohan rant.
This one is so fucking needlessly complex. So on the surface level, in terms of this fight, it's not impressive. Heaven's Door gets ridiculously overpowered really quick. In terms of speed alone, apparently Rohan can keep up with Maiden Heaven's ability to like infinitely speed up time. I know a lot of people take it as a joke or just a reference. Later on in Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe and a lot of other side stories, the stand is able to keep up with literal deities just in general to begin with. Actually insane, because then you have to bring in like real life religions and just like start scaling off of them. So like on top of the fact its ability to kind of alter memories gets really funky in the side stories, because it's stated in like the manga itself that Rohan isn't able to infect himself. However, in the Rohan Goes to the Louvre, Rohan could potentially do a lot here. He could, not memeing, potentially just write in himself is not affected by Gojo Satoru, and then like now it's just like, oh well, now he's just gonna get turned into a book, and now like I don't know. Yeah, Rohan's busted here depending on the interpretation you use. If it's part 4, no, But if you go with like the wild ass scaling and start like really taking everything at face value and like the extended stories and stuff, Rohan probably wins because of just bullshit, just stupid hacks. Just I win basically. So here's the problem too. Technically, what I was explaining is kind of like how Araki depicts the ability now, but at least in early part 4, how the ability worked is if you saw Rohan's his scripts of his early manga panels, like the ability will proc and Rohan can just affect your body. If that's still in effect here, or still like a way to open up a person other than just getting really close to them, Gojo would literally see the manuscript and then just heal over, and now he's just open. His hack is just so easily accessible for him to just affect a person. And if you just bring in like the side story stuff, it's just like, oh, Rohan just wins because he just writes in Gojo's face, I win, fall asleep forever or something.
Do you think that with the Limitless would still be in effect while he's in book form? Like Rohan would be able to turn him into a book, but he wouldn't be able to like go up and write in him?
It depends.
Even if he couldn't write in the book, could he just leave Gojo as a book?
I think eventually it wears off. It definitely wears off with some characters. They just wake up. So it does kind of have a time limit.
So if he turns Gojo into the book but can't write in him,
it's just kind of it would end up just being a stalemate then.
So from what you described, Rohan would be able to defend himself from like things like red, blue, and hollow purple?
Probably, I would say, for the most part. Since Rohan was able to take away like from his memory looking at an infinite void permanently, depending on how you write it down, Rohan could just say he's unaffected by Gojo's mental energy, his curse techniques. Potentially it would work. Would he be able to get it off in time? That's when we get debatable, but Rohan does definitely have a lot of answers to Gojo basically.
All right, the legendary Rohan Kishibe rant has been completed.
Yes,
you can die happily now.
Rohan. Okay, let's see what we get. Ooh. Oh,
Love Train time.
Okay, so in the last video we talked about this, but we didn't use Love Train, so I won't go over D4C. I'll just talk about Love Train. So what Love Train is, it is a light barrier for Funny Valentine and D4C to basically hang out in. This light barrier basically is able to tank misfortune, so that's basically any ill will and or intent against Funny Valentine and D4C while in their light wall, and redirect it at any point in space and time, including the multiverse. The only way to get through it is to have an infinite amount of energy perfectly in a singular spot, basically rip right through it. So basically you need Tusk Act 4. Put that ability on top of D4C, which has the ability of basically giving Funny Valentine infinite lives and has the ability to cross dimensions regularly. I personally don't see literally anything else but maybe the domain expansion affecting him. Literally none of Gojo's kit could affect Love Train like at all.
Domain expansion, it creates Gojo's pocket dimension. So I guess it just depends on how you would consider how those two pocket dimensions would interact. Would one overtake the other? Like if Gojo can expand Unlimited Void larger than what Love Train is able to manifest and take up more space, and then completely capture Love Train and Valentine inside, and then Unlimited Void attack everything within.
I don't think Limited Void would work. I just don't think it would. And I think it just genuinely hard counters it. The fact that it just took an infinite amount of energy just to pierce through the wall, or at least at bare minimum a near infinite amount of energy just to harm him.
It deflects misfortune, not just attacks. Yes. And you would consider, I guess becoming a vegetable might be misfortune. So
what would happen in that scenario is if Love Train is still active, even with like in a domain expansion or whatever, the infinite amount of information or the constant repeating of information would not go to Valentine. It would hit technically possibly Gojo or somebody else in the multiverse. But I would also say that Valentine only has one win con, and I do have to preface this. He can only attack outside the light barrier. So if Gojo were to catch him off guard, yes, Gojo could kill him, but this is a very defensive fight. It's super defensive and would probably take a while. This would not be a short battle like whatsoever. Gojo just doesn't have a lot of answers for Valentine, so I'm leaning towards Valentine here, not out of bias. And there's the whole infinite lives thing, and they're like bringing in like another Gojo, or I don't know, Sukuna Gojo or Geto Gojo, and they end up fighting or something, which is entirely possible because we have seen Funny Valentine literally cross an infinite number of universes to find the perfect somebody to fight Johnny, for example. So it's not out of the realms of possibility if he feels like he can't do it. I think Valentine just has way too many answers for Gojo, and Gojo just has none to very little.
Yeah, the big thing is even if Love Train can't win, there's nothing that Gojo can do to get the win on his end either. It basically just becomes a stalemate.
Okay, let's hit the wheel. Let's see what we got.
We've got Underworld. So this is we were talking about a little bit before.
Yeah. So to explain Underworld has the ability to replay historical events in 100% accuracy underground. And eventually anybody who walks into that area, or you can say domain here if you want to, they will just replay events of what that ground has experienced. For example, Jolene and crew were on an airplane that blew up. So this is very dependent on where they fight. If Underworld is somehow in an area, and this is a very large area too.
Pretty sure it's all of Orlando that the effect is.
That's a big ass city, by the way.
Yeah.
What would end up happening here is Gojo, if he didn't leave the memory or was able to escape what's happening in that historical event that is currently happening, even with all of his abilities, he can't change the fate and or history of that incident. So if he wasn't like in a big one where it's all like, because they're probably going to be in Japan, not trying to be a dick when I'm saying this, Nagasaki for some reason, well, you're cooked, Gojo. That's a nuclear bomb. You can't change the fate of it unless somehow you miraculously can all of a sudden. So this one's very like location dependent. If he was the one getting stabbed or looked at somebody getting stabbed, like he was just a third party or something, he'd most likely be unaffected and he would be able to be Underworld and his user.
It really depends on the overall event of the memory that's being played out. Like if we were to host the fight in the exact same place, or what, they're in Orlando, and then there's the plane that crashes, there's the argument to be made, like Metas was saying, that if the event is the plane crash, every single person in that plane died, technically speaking, regardless of the fact that Gojo has Limitless and should be able to be invulnerable to the plane's explosion, just based on the history, you can't change the fact that everyone on the plane died. Now, again, you could argue, sure, Limitless, that just defies reality, it defies the memory entirely, but that's why, again, location matters, because if we're in an event like Nagasaki or Hiroshima with a nuclear explosion going off, the atom bomb, that is most certainly going to go through Limitless without a doubt. And even if you want to say the force doesn't go through, the radiation goes through. Exactly.
I think it is just matchup dependent for the most part, but like reverse curse technique and stuff could play a factor too. This one's just interesting. It's just how Gojo's powers and stuff would just affect in general.
There are also loopholes in the memory, like for example, like specifically I believe Jolene and Hermes are able to get out of it because two of the people on the airplane crash survived because they were in a specific air pocket of the plane. They were able to basically toss those people out and get in those exact seats so that they could basically be the people that survive. And you know what? You could say that's fucked up, but the good news is that anyone that doesn't die in the original event, no matter what happens, still won't die. You're not forsaking that person's life. Not that Gojo would understand the exact event that's going on. The Six Eyes may at least help him in that and going, okay, well, if I'm in an airplane crash, I'm able to tell that this is the safest place in the airplane. Is that going to guarantee him surviving? Probably not, because again, he doesn't have the foresight of these two people survived, but it's still, he's going to be, you know, more capable of adapting to the situation than most people. But as we talked about before, it's definitely debatable whether things like the Limitless would actually save him, because if he is supposed to die in the event.
Underworld potentially can kill, but I doubt it.
And the stand is active while the memory's going on, because I'm pretty sure Jolene and Hermes are like trying to fight it in the middle of the memory. So it's also potentially possible Gojo could, you know, attack Underworld if he gets close to the memory, or God forbid, you could even make the argument domain expansion, funneling all this information into you can't even maintain your ability and the memory just cancels out. So Gojo does also have win conditions. Hopefully Versus wouldn't be that stupid.
It probably is though.
Yeah, he does it in the canon. So you could also make the argument that because Gojo has just a genuine ability to teleport, I'm not sure if he's trapped in the memory and can't escape, but I mean, I'm sure someone could make the argument he could just poof. All right, I'm somewhere else now.
I'm shocked we haven't got Wonder View or Gold Experience Requiem yet. Or the hand. We haven't got the hand? Are you serious?
Yeah, no, there's so many that like we've stayed away from for some reason. The wheel doesn't want it to happen yet. It's saving the best for last.
I won't lie. A lot of the, I'm seeing the list. A lot of these ones are actually just fun discussions.
This is going to be the best part.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Spin the wheel. Let me
spin the wheel.
Let me see. Give me the hand. Highway to Hell. So this is the one you put on the list. So when Thunder McQueen just tries to off himself, for ad revenue sake, we'll just say that, it kind of just has this AoE and will affect one person at a time. Gojo would end up being affected, but I would say I think the reverse curse technique of healing could by proxy like stop it.
Yeah, it's tough to say because like that's what I'm thinking of too. Like there's literally pretty much next to no activation conditions. I know it's shared damage. I'm not sure if it has to be self-inflicted or if Gojo like punches Thunder McQueen in the face, that also is going to transfer over as well. But the tough part is all of the exact same damage that happens to Thunder McQueen happens to Gojo. If Thunder McQueen dies and Gojo is able to heal all of the damage to himself and doesn't die, I don't know if that completely nullifies the stand, or would the stand assure that Gojo dies when Thunder McQueen dies, or is it just literally just a game of chicken who gives out first?
I do think the reverse curse technique could come in play. If it really is just they're reflecting off of each other, Thunder McQueen possibly could die. But if you remember correctly, Thunder McQueen, how Hermes defeats him is just by basically telling him, hey, don't do that, follow with me, look at the pretty lady, and eventually she's able to beat him. So I think in this case, Gojo could probably just come up to the guy and be like this: if I give you $20, will you fuck off? Like, he's very manipulatable, which is his entire character to begin with.
I'm thinking of like how Gojo would actually handle a situation similar to that, and I don't know if he would be able to handle, because Gojo, while being great at everything and while being just this ladies man, so charismatic and great, he's also just like not, he's not a people's person. He's one of those people where like he's that annoying extrovert that doesn't shut up and everyone's like, oh my god, I hate this guy. He might make honestly Thunder McQueen hate himself even more. He's like, oh my god, Gojo, you have it all, you're such a great person, I have nothing, I'm never gonna be able to be as good as you. And it might just make him more, if anything, you know, willing to take himself out. There's so many different ways that highway to hell could be a threat but also not a threat at the same time. The tough part is like you said, like how to actually deal with it, because in the actual Jojo story, like you said, Hermes kind of just like bribes Lightning McQueen to stay alive. I think she ends up knocking him out at the end of it, and then he just, I guess, renounces his unaliving ways, especially when we don't know if Gojo Hollow Purple, I guess Unlimited Void would probably be best, right? Because if you turn Thunder McQueen into a vegetable, he can no longer take himself out. So
yeah, probably
that's honestly probably the best case scenario and what would happen, because the worst part is no matter how far Gojo gets away from Thunder McQueen, it will still happen. We see Hermes go like to a completely different ward of the prison, and as Thunder McQueen is like slitting his wrists, it starts affecting Hermes, and no matter how far away they get. So I think that's literally Gojo's only option, besides, like you said, potentially convincing him that life ain't that bad. The only way it could go badly would be if actually it is just pure damage sharing and anything Gojo does to Thunder McQueen happens to Gojo, because then the Unlimited Void immediately backfires, and then Gojo and Thunder McQueen can be best fucking friends because they'll both share one brain cell together.
Real.
I think that's the only way it could possibly go.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what we got here. So we got Echoes Act 2 here. So why did you? Did I do this or you do this?
So this is a me thing. Okay. But Echoes Act 2 is purely like sound based, right? Where it's able to basically bring a sound out into reality, and then if you interact with that sound, it then affects you. So my whole thought process was, I don't think sound is something that would be unavoidable by Limitless. I think that would just bypass Limitless. I guess the problem would be getting Gojo to interact with that sound.
It's supposed to be a play on like manga words, like the splash text that shows up, that's what it's in specific. When it comes to that specific splash text is like sound effect, it will affect them. Like the noise, like you can physically touch it, like, and stuff when it appears on walls and such, but then it also can appear in midair, and you know, you can start messing around with it there. So in theory, the joke is with Act 2 and just like Echoes in general, Echoes should be able to like do some bonkers shit in theory. Now I'm not gonna say he can do it, but if we just want to get speculative here just for fun, in theory with like Act 3, for example, if we kick it up to its like strongest level, when you have like, it's specific, it has to rhyme in Japanese for it to work, so you can't use English, but like with 3 freeze, a lot of people think like if you're able to rhyme a number and like time stop together, in theory Koichi can do some bonkers shit. Like there's a lot of this just depends on how creative you are making up the argument for Koichi, it'd be like it would be really ridiculous how he would win. It would be like you stepped on the fucking the Looney Tunes sound effect of being hurt and now you're hurt or something. I don't know. You have to really take like Echo's abilities like kind of not outside of context, but give them like a lot of caveats to really say like the full potential of the stand. He was always a character with like a massive amount of potential, and he was always continuously growing. I actually would love to see like if they ever made movies like a part 4 movie and just seeing what like Koichi ends up doing with Echoes, because Echoes is in theory pretty broken. Just seeing what the series shows in general, I'd give it to Gojo. But if we just start getting like really hypothetical and like start giving him like abilities he's never shown before, potentially he could do it.
When it comes down to it, even if Echoes is able to go through Limitless, do some crazy wacky shenanigans with the different sounds, I mean, we've seen Gojo specifically, even without the Limitless, tank crazy heat from Jogo's domain expansion. So we know that like just simple things like making, you know, a burning sensation or something that's going to make Gojo very hot to potentially melt him, he's already durable enough to handle stuff like that. Combat wise, Gojo has the hugest advantage possible. I'm not sure where Kokichi scales, but unless he's like, you know, Jotaro mountain level faster than light, you know, speed, I think Gojo would probably just win the battle in general. He might have had a little bit better of a, you know, of an outcome if Act 3 didn't require contact. You know, if he was able to freeze Gojo in place,
or in general,
and then
if he just showed more with it.
He's just too innocent to win in a fisticuffs with Gojo fucking Satoru, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's just not happening.
My Go can't do it.
All right, who's next?
We got some monsters left on the list.
We do, and then we have like the lock and like Craftwork.
Can we get the lock so it's just funny?
That's actually what will happen. I'm telling you.
Oh, is it time? Is it time for my goat? It's time.
It's time for the wonder of you.
All right, hold on. I had to actually get up in my gamer chair. Hold on, I got a little lock. So, Wonder View is, of course, this is another case of probably just needs a fully dedicated video to it. But Wonder View is butt fuck stupid. Even in terms of JoJo's, it is ridiculously dumb. Wonder View, determined by Araki, is either one of, if not just the strongest villain stand in the entire series. How the ability works is there's a few things here, but to kind of just simplify it for this sake, when Gojo pursues Toru, the head doctor, or Wonder View itself, they're all just technically the same thing, Calamity will proc. Anything and everything can be used against you. I'll just use Gojo's for an example. If Gojo comes in contact with something, it will hurt them. Simple raindrops end up becoming hyper lethal. They become like a massive rain of bullets up top of you. Anything and everything can hurt you. It's like simple items that you wouldn't think that would hurt you now do like hyper lethal damage for like no apparent reason. It manipulates logic, so technically it still has to be logical, but for the most part, what I've been using for years as a meme is if you step on a pebble, the pebble will shatter your leg and destroy your lower back and you can't fight anymore. Not hyperbole, that potentially can happen. Literally, Mamazuku, while chasing the head doctor, fell onto a table and then had his whole left leg completely severed, and if it was not for his stand ability, he would basically be in the Polnareff group with a wheelchair. Even if you kill Toru, Calamity itself, like the concept, will still be hanging around in the form of Wonder View, and you need to have some type of like conceptual way to kill it, at least in its current incarnation. You're not destroying Calamity in its entirety. I've done a few videos where I've messed that up and didn't explain it very well, but like you're killing like a small portion of the concept, the idea of it, like the bad luck, the karma of the universe in its place. And now this doesn't affect Gojo here, but it might a little bit. Depending on your nature type, if you're a good guy or a bad guy. If you're a bad guy, karmic retribution kicks in, and anything negative in society that you have ever done will just come racing back at you, and it will hurt you. Of course, Wonder View works in a gradual scale. The more you chase after him, the deadlier and deadlier it gets. But in fights like in one-on-one fights like this, you're not starting off at 0. You're basically starting off at 50, and you are rapidly climbing up to 100. Wonder View breaks like the rules of just versus battle battles in general, because just by fighting him, you are already trying to go up against like a universal concept. Like Wonder View controls or is a concept so grand that it basically encompasses the universe. Now, everything in JoJo's is logical to a sense. All strange phenomenon are natural to the world, so they're not illogical. Wonder View could end up control that, and he has been shown to control other people's abilities as a way to kind of redeflect them back at them. Looking at Gappy, you're going to be the avatar for the comment section here, so just give me the questions, I'll answer them, because for the most part here, you're going to see what I'm going to end up talking about, because there's a lot of things I didn't leave out in that little short paragraph. I could talk about them for days.
Gojo's going to have all the odds stacked against him. The main thing, obviously, the elephant in the room, is Limitless. You have Gojo, who has literally the ability to have an infinite space barrier around him, where it's not really a barrier, I should say, let me correct myself. It's literally just the closer you get to Gojo, the slower you get, to the point you will never actually reach him. So obviously simple calamities like an airplane door flying off and flying into Gojo aren't going to affect him, or simple things like even raindrops won't be able to reach him. But like you said, I think like going based off of your explanation, it's possible that like things that would normally work for Gojo may end up backfiring on him. Like maybe not required in this fight, but for example, when he fights Sukuna and he has to destroy his brain to regenerate it, to redo his domain expansion, like maybe he destroys the wrong part of his brain, or like it's a permanent effect and he can't heal it or something like that. Is that kind of how it would work?
Yes, this one's also a very popular one, right next to Gappy versus Gojo. So I think the very popular win condition here, which a lot of people will say Wonder Review ends up winning, is the fact that like during the refresh, right, Gojo's just biological nature kicks in and he's just not able to. He's gonna fire a hollow purple or use one of his abilities, and when his brain tries to refresh, the aneurysm in his body just takes too much out of him, and then he dies from it. Like those diseases can theoretically, I'm not saying this isn't my popular answer to this question, but can knock into him and then he'll just end up dying of a brain hemorrhage, is one way of seeing it. Wonder View is able to control, and I'm not, this isn't hyperbole, it is explained by Mamazuku that he can control anything on the planet. Basically, if you have played a part in society, something can and will knock into you. With that being the case, and since even in Jujutsu Kaisen, like Limitless and all the like negative powers, Wonder View can technically manipulate that. So it has been shown to be like able to control other people to knock into you. It is not really out of the realm of possibility of like Wonder View ends up like manipulating into like a Sukuna appearing, or somebody to like cause like you accidentally turned off your infinity, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, raindrops start to fall and then it starts to hit you.
To use like Jujutsu Kaisen like terminology, I guess, like could you say that like Wonder View would be the actual law of the universe itself, and when Gojo was born, the world compensated by creating stronger curse spirits?
In theory, yes, that's how it works. There is some contention on how it plays out. So it either Wonder View manipulates future events in order for you to get hit with the ability. So it'd be like it manipulates like you walking into a fucking chair and then you lose your legs, and or it manipulates past events so they hit you in the future. You took a left turn instead of a right turn, you accidentally did something bad, and now it's gonna bite you back in the ass. Just random bullshit would just start showing up, or just Gojo makes like just a small little mistake with his ability and then it just fucking backfires, because we have seen Wonder Review like take control of not Go Beyond's bubbles, but just the explosive bubbles. The moment a technique leaves Gojo's like sphere of influence, basically it's under Wonder Review's power to control it. So like that hollow purple, for whatever reason, may do a loop-de-loop right back into Gojo for whatever fucking reason. Like the domain expansion might be one thing, but the problem ends up becoming that like Wonder Review, even after Toru's death, even if Toru is able to be killed by Gojo, will literally just still be around. It's still a concept and a stand. So I don't even think hollow purple would end up affecting him there. Final form Wonder Review is kind of implied to just be like instant one-shot killing. So shenanigans could be a play here too. So it's just like Toru just has an answer to fucking everything. It just ends up just becoming like Gojo's past actions just start biting him in the ass.
Well, the more that like he tries to fight Wonder of You, it's just gonna make things even worse because it's just gonna bring more and more calamity to him. Simple inconveniences, like even if like during the battle Gojo uses like blue and all the debris gets sucked in, and then like it pulls in like a gas can with poisonous gas and it busts and Gojo breathes in gas and dies.
It's just
like,
dumb.
Just inconvenient random shit that can happen at any time. So like even though sure Gojo has the Limitless, again he is safe from simple things like I said before, like you know he walks down the street and a car runs him over, like that's not gonna work. But the Wonder of You will find a way in the universe to make it work, even if it's after Wonder of You loses, quote unquote, per se. Gojo goes home to celebrate with a nice glass of milk, and then he chokes and dies.
Yeah,
and then that's
the
just
karmic retribution kicking in. Yeah, he's just dumb. Wonder of You's just really stupid. I know. I've seen some people say like Hollow Purple can be like illogical because it is imaginary. It honestly just ends up. It just depends. For the most part, it's like 98% in Wonder of You's favor. There's very, 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 very little that Gojo could end up doing to him. Just how his ability works alone, not a lot of people can beat him. And then if you start like fucking highballing him, it's over. Okay, let me see. Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay,
we will never get the hand.
So Bohemian Rhapsody is a pretty fun one. So basically, Bohemian Rhapsody has the ability just to turn story characters and storylines real. So basically, they will appear in real life, and if a person knows of the story, they will be automatically put into the story as one of the characters, more likely than not the main character, and will have to play it out. Depending on how that story plays out, you could be the villain, you could be the hero, you could end up winning, you could end up dying. If you are locked into a story, you will have to play it out. What will probably end up happening here, and for the most part, it will be pretty funny. He'll probably end up killing and destroying like a whole bunch of storylines, just how his ability works. Gojo, in theory, will end up fighting fucking Goku, and it's now just Gojo versus Goku time. And more likely than not, that will probably end up happening. Also, this ability works worldwide, so Gojo's not running away from it. Like every story will affect him, and he can kill characters. Will end up like ending like those storylines, but like knowing Gojo's character, he wouldn't give a fuck. There is a problem with his ability. Even though you'll end up fucking fighting Goku, which is insane to say, you can also just make up your own character. So if Gojo is smart enough, which he potentially is, and just says, I can make an OC, and just makes a character that will just beat the ability for him, there's the giant loophole. If that is possible, but if Gojo never ends up doing that, at one point or another, he will just start endlessly killing off characters because of just of his curse techniques and stuff. But at one point, he will find Superman, he will find Goku, he will lose. Oh, I love your complex hacks. Now fucking watch this, and just starts up charging ki and will just end up losing. This is a 50-50. It just depends on the scenario.
Really depends on the scenario, because like let's say like if they get caught into a story, Gojo gets like transformed into whatever that character may be. God forbid he gets pulled into a story that like actually inadvertently gets rid of his Limitless in some way, shape, or form. That
is also technically possible, but you can defeat the story if you're strong enough. You can kill these characters off, and like the story will like end. If you just end up killing all of Red Riding Hood's characters, the story will end and he'll just be just kind of there.
The hardest thing about Bohemian Rhapsody 2 is the stand user like has to be nowhere in sight, like doesn't even need to be aware of what's going on or transpiring. So one, it's not like Gojo can just domain expansion Hollow Purple his way out of the situation. Sure, if he beats one anime character, one random cartoon character, that doesn't stop others from showing up and pulling him into more and more and more stories until he gets pulled into one that he actually is unable to beat. Like Goku, for example, whatever way you want to look at it. I know everyone argues whether the 6 eyes can just, you know, map out stands or whatnot, but I would at least argue the 6 eyes, if the stand user is even somewhat in the same vicinity, would at least be able to tell Gojo, all right, let me see if I can find the stand user, and he can search the area for him. And even if they're not in the immediate area, Gojo's got nothing else to do but fight cartoon characters. Who says he can't wander around until he fucking finds them? He's got it. I'm pretty sure the stand user can't just be on the other side of the earth, but maybe I'm wrong.
In theory, yes, he can.
Oh, right. It affects the whole world.
Yeah, it affects the whole world. It just depends. In the anime, he was pretty close, but in theory, he could just be in like Australia while you're in fucking Connecticut. Sheesh. And it's just like you can't do anything unless you travel.
Gojo, like Jojo's the character that has, of course, the unlimited cursed energy, everything like that. So he can fight for usually a very long time. But again, he's just going to eventually run into someone if he can't find the Bohemian Rhapsody stand user. So so. Indeed. And now we got nothing but the Three Musketeers, three of the best stands. I don't know about Superfly, but apparently people were very excited for him. I saw in the comments.
Yeah.
We got the hand.
Yes. My goat, Okuyasu Nijimura, and the hand. I can't remember if it's his left or right hand. I think it's his left hand, but the left hand, stated by Araki in an interview, basically has the ability to wipe away anything in existence. It's one of the few characters in fiction, and I think it's the only character within the franchise, this one in JoJo's, that has a no limits fallacy. It can and will delete anything with it. So it's an extremely powerful stand. In combination, you can do a lot with it. Okuyasu has the ability to teleport with it because he's able to remove space. When it swipes with the hand, it's only the things that make contact with the hand. So it's not like Okuyasu can delete the world. It doesn't have the ability to do that. It has to be kind of relative to his size. I'll say that. The universe tries to kind of self-correct it when this ability like takes place. That's why he can teleport, because Okuyasu removed the space in between him and, like, I don't know, a Coke can, and now he's closer to it because the universe is like, all the space got removed, so I have to fill it in, so everything just gets closer. In theory, could he wipe away the infinite barrier? In theory, yes. Could he destroy Hollow Purple? Yes. The problem is, we'll always laugh at it, and especially in a scenario like this with Gojo being the shit talker he is, Okuyasu is a dumbass. It's sad to say this, but Gojo would just insult his intelligence, and Okuyasu would then just start acting like a fool. And even though he has this insanely powerful ability with a massive amount of potential, I've made my own video on that, so if you want to go see that, go check out on my channel. But just looking at Space Okuyasu, even though he has this insanely powerful ability, just knowing Gojo's character in general will just be enough for him to just fuck him over.
Yeah, the worst, that's so sad that Okuyasu's one downside to his character is that he's just too stupid to make use of his OP ability. The hand,
he's not stupid, he's just too ignorant to fight. That's what it just basically is. He's too hot-headed. He can fight a stand like Red Hot Chili Peppers, who gives a lot of the other characters a run for their money, but the moment like he just loses focus, it's just game over. Like, in theory, he could just delete Gojo.
The hand is actually, surprisingly, it's almost like Gojo's blue, but like just leveled up, severely buffed, because it's the way you described it is almost very similar to how Gojo describes his blue. It creates weird scenarios in reality where almost like -1 apples occur, where he basically just distorts space and then space has to correct itself. So Gojo does have like a very similar ability. Okuyasu's is a little bit more powerful because it literally just deletes whatever it deletes the space from existence. He doesn't even know where it goes. So like you said, if Gojo shoots like a red, if Gojo shoots like a hollow purple, maybe the hollow purple is a little big, but like Okuyasu does technically have the power to swipe through it, delete it from space entirely, at least the middle of it, and potentially, you know, be in the middle of it. It flies on the sides of him like, you know, some other anime you've seen before. Okuyasu could definitely fight against Gojo. It's just, you also have the argument that depending on what the actual range of space that Okuyasu is able to delete, is Okuyasu able to actually cut through the entire, it's not so much that, I mean, you could argue that sure, it's not a physical object that's getting slower and slower. Okuyasu literally is just cutting through the space. So it is different, but I could see the argument being made where even though the hand still wouldn't pierce the limitless space and hit Gojo, it could. I'm kind of 50-50 on it, to be honest with you. I could really go either way. I still think Gojo wins overall, especially when you consider domain expansion. And also, I'm pretty sure Red Hot Chili Pepper is like shown fast enough to like dodge the hand's attacks. So technically speaking, even if Gojo's, I'm not sure again where those characters scale, but if Gojo's fast enough, he can just dodge the attacks.
Let's see if we get Superfly next. I love to like end it off with Golden Spirits Requiem. Give me Superfly. I can't believe we okay, bitchin'. I don't know why people want to.
You called it. I'm pretty sure this is the second time that you did this.
So Superfly's interesting. Basically, this is like Jojo's answer to just basically like the ultimate sealing technique. The moment Gojo walks into the tower, he cannot get out. It is technically impossible. It is almost a reverse infinity. If Gojo walks into a Superfly, the user can eventually just leave, right? And once the user leaves, that means Gojo is now stuck, and technically it's new stand user. So what ends up happening is, in this case, he can't leave. And if he tries to leave, his body will just end up turning into kind of, at least in how the anime shows it, like turns into like this metal cyborg, and it'll eventually just be like dead. And if you try to damage the tower in any way, it will instantly reflect all the damage you caused to it. Unless Gojo can kill the person before they leave, he'll be fine. But even if he does kill him, he will literally be the last one left, because he's now an inanimate object because they have died. So he has to be pretty smart with it. He has to make sure they never leave Superfly.
The only thing that I can think of, because it definitely traps Gojo inside, there's no doubt about that, even with the Limitless and like the reflected damage, who cares? He fires off a hollow purple, it reflects off of the tower, it reflects off of him, and it goes and takes out an airplane somewhere. You know what I mean? Like no one is getting hurt, and Gojo's just gonna die of starvation or just die of dehydration, whatever comes first. If Gojo just teleport and get out of there? Like, because like if we're to assume that Gojo's teleportation works like Okuyasu's hand, where it just like he deletes the space in between him and where he shows up, and then he just shows up where he appears.
If he could teleport out of it, I don't think he can, just because how the ability works. It's like if you're the only one there and you try to leave in any way, it will affect you. This would be so funny. If he did try to teleport out of it, he would end up just like killing himself, just because he'd end up just turning into like a metal statue. Even with Gojo's intelligence, I think he would just be too scared to even try that, because the moment he just tries to be like, I'll try to leave, and then like, he tries to, and it's like, oh, my hand has now become metal. I probably shouldn't teleport just on the off chance, unless he makes another person or gets that other guy to stay in Superfly. It basically just is a win con from the other guy. Like, the Superfly wins. GG's. You just can't leave.
I'm also wondering if let's say, for example, if Gojo used blue in the middle of the tower. Now blue isn't directly attacking the tower, because so there's nothing to really reflect. If anything, what blue is doing is using supreme, we could call it magnetism in this sense, supreme full form of pulling in space. So like it would make the tower kind of collapse inward on itself. Would that be a viable option?
That is a potential win con. I can see, like, if you can somehow big brain it and make the tower attack itself, you could get out of it potentially.
Or maybe Gojo just gets pulled inside of the crushed in tower, and he's got even less space to exist in.
I'll make a win con right now. This is like a really big brain win con you probably wouldn't see in a versus, but in theory, if he did crush or somehow be able to manipulate Superfly with blue and then use infinity in a way, he could make sure that the damage reflection never can reach him. Like he's using infinity constantly to reflect his own blue technique he used on Superfly. I think he could do that.
Domains can have their coordinates changed. Would it be possible that Gojo can pop a small barrier that's literally just surrounding himself and then move the pocket dimension outside of the tower and then just release and be out of the tower?
Oh, that's a good one. There's a lot of hypotheticals here just with the dimension stuff and teleportation. It's all, but I'll say this, when it comes to Gojo getting out of the tower with like domain expansions or teleportation, it just depends. We never saw it, so it's hard to say, but I could say it's 50-50. Maybe if we know in Jojo sometimes if a character is just blatantly stronger, they can just like defeat another stand user. Looking at like Justice versus Jotaro, like it really honestly felt like Justice was like one of the ultimate stands because it was made out of air, nobody could defeat it, but Jotaro, just using his sheer power alone, just breathed her in and was able to defeat him. So
we've wandered into territory that neither Araki nor Gege have ever
wondered about,
intended that could be possible, because like you said, at this point the only way this fight could go would have to involve things that never happened for either party.
So our last one, Gold Experience Requiem. I don't think I need to lock in for this.
Wait, we haven't spun the wheel yet.
Gold Experience Requiem has the ability to passively return any action to 0 if it's hostile intent in specific. And then the infinite death loop, but the infinite death loop's barely talked about, and we don't really know how it originally works, but it probably requires Gold Experience Requiem to just kill you in general and then just cause the loop with its ability to return things to 0 to proc. Now, there is 2 interpretations with Gold Experience Requiem. This is more of a modern thing. Maybe like 10 years ago, nobody would like talk to me or like even like give me like an ear to explain this, but either you have the ultimate stand stat or he's just like a silver chariot in terms of stats level character. So the ultimate stand stat kind of thing is like Gold Experience Requiem, looking at the guidebooks and what he says himself within part 5, is supposed to be at least the first or second strongest stand within the original universe. That means he off skills to Jotaro, Made in Heaven, the World, other stands, etc. He should be able to outperform them because of these abilities. And of course, he still has gold experiences abilities, which could play a factor in this fight, but since they need physical contact, that might not be the case. But there is a win condition here, Alex. But what it's probably going to end up coming down to, and everybody's probably wondering what it is, Limitless and all of his Gojo's techniques versus Return to Zero. How they play out? For the most part, what can be understood here is the Return to Zero would basically cause all these abilities, for the most part, not to work. The reason I have to point this out is they have to attack Giorno. Giorno can't just reset the fact that your shoe is tied or something and make you trip. There has to be an action towards Giorno for it to return to zero. Giorno and Gojo just stalemate out. No one wins. If we use the high speed scaling, Giorno is like an infinite speed level character. He's getting through infinity. He ends up destroying them thanks to being like at Star Platinum's level, if not higher in terms of AP. GG's. Pick your poison.
Gold Experience Requiem definitely has the handicap, the advantage in this fight, but just isn't able to make use of it because, like you said, Limitless, because it's technically not an attack on Giorno or something that's going to be going for Giorno, it may not be something that he's able to just literally just control Z. Blue, red, purple, domain expansion, all of that stuff will just not affect Giorno. Absolutely no way will it even come close. The only thing that I can even imagine would have to be is if Gold Experience Requiem is able to create something with its increased life-giving abilities that is somehow able to go through Gojo. Like it creates like, again, we're getting into conversations of things that have never happened. Like it creates a flower with spores that can go through, you know what I mean? Like it has to, that is literally the only way that the stalemate can be broken, because again, nothing Gojo does will beat GER,
which is possible. Giorno has literally made life that's never existed before, looking at the Purple Haze fight. So in theory, if Giorno were to figure out how curse energy works, he could end up making a being that just ignores curse energy, because even in JoJo's there are things that exist that can end up affecting Homolin. So I would, in theory, within JoJo's logic, a creature could like not affected by curse energy, which is totally possible.
It's just tough to say because I the exact moment you're talking about, I know exactly what you're talking about. The only thing that I would argue with being a nitpicker would be like, naturally it would make sense that like a snake that was born under like intense circumstances in like a virus would just naturally create antibodies, whereas like creating an animal that would naturally adapt to cursed energy is a little less.
Makes a mini Magaraga would be wild.
Oh my god. Gun to my head, if I had to choose and put money on someone, it would probably be Gold Experience Requiem, just because again, it's a character that literally can do nothing against one, with a character that we might just have to pull a little headcanon or pull little strings to get them a win con. But the fact exists that at least one of them can be given that generosity. The other, literally, there's nothing we can say. They can't do anything.
It's basically that. It's either win or no win.
And that is the wheel, everybody.
Yeah,
that is the whole entire wheel of stands that could potentially kill Gojo. I'm sure there might be some here or there, maybe one or two might have slipped through the cracks we might have missed, but I'm pretty sure we got most of them that are viable. But I'm sure you guys in the comments could definitely let us know if we missed anything. Everybody give their love to Metas. Appreciate you so much for coming back to finish the wheel.
Thank you, Noah, for having me on here. I love talking about JoJo's with any of my friends that want to hear me yap constantly. So yeah, if you guys like the video, I'd love to come back. Come over to my channel if you're interested with JoJo's. There we go. Love you, people. Deuces.
Hell yeah, deadbeat dads.
Let's go.
Peace.